Yeah, I don't know why,
It's
but
it's like it's like an
we
introductory sentence on my messenger all the time.
and
Like,
it's such
sup,
a
cunts.
like cunt is such a great word to say. Like
Yeah, it really is, man.
it starts so hard and then it ends so
Yeah,
hard. You like and then it's like cunt. Like, you know, and you can
yeah,
say it with clenched teeth. Like
yeah,
it's such a great word, but like you watch American women like squirm. They're like, "Oh, no,
yeah.
please. Not
Oh
that word."
man,
I'm like, "But it sounds so good." All right. Three,
let's kick it.
2, 1. Welcome everybody. Rick again with another Noob Hammer interview. This time I'm with Dineeth Liyanagama. Did I do it?
Got it.
Nice.
Yeah, mate.
Who has pinged me all the way from Australia to do this. So this is kind of off the cuff. I think you messaged me what 2 days ago, and we
Yeah,
just
dude. I
said
was.
fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, I saw the awesome content you were doing, and I was like, man, this is great. I love
Thank you so
Deathwatch.
much.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I do want to point out that so Dineeth plays a lot of Deathwatch, and then he has his own podcast, the Normal Blokes, which I have actually listened to before you ever messaged me. So
Oh,
this is super cool.
I
Um,
know. Yeah,
so make sure to check out his podcast. I know you generally do teams events a lot, so that's going to be some content that's very different than our normal content up here, where we kind of follow the meta of the American singles tournaments. But let's start off. Dineeth, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, like how did you get into a Warhammer? How long have you been playing? And then, maybe what your first army was, and then why did you pick Deathwatch?
yeah, man. So I guess like a lot of people have the story that when they were kids, they were experienced, or they were exposed to Warhammer in some regard. Here in Australia, we had monthly magazines that had little Lord of the Rings miniatures, and that was my first exposure to it. And then eventually exposure to 40k. I had a few Space Marines as a kid. That sat in the cupboard for a while, and then I finished school. I went into university studies, and my job required me to use my hands a lot, and I needed something to build up my hand skills. And I thought, hey, let's start painting some miniatures again. So
Oh,
I played the Dawn of War games for a bit. I started a little Blood Angels, Blood Ravens force during
yep,
university. Yep.
gotta
Put
be
that
Blood
down for a
Ravens.
bit. Yeah, dude. So many people I know started with them.
Same.
And then
Well,
put that down for a bit. Yeah. And
yeah.
my first proper army was a Blood Angels army that I built up, and then met a couple of the guys at the local store. Started playing games. Started playing more tournaments. We came together and made the Normal Blokes Club. And then we started recording podcasts and stuff, and that was 2016, 17. So it's been a good,
Okay,
4 years or so. And yeah, all the same guys are still around in Brisbane, Australia. So here we are now.
that's awesome, man. That's so cool. I love how it was exactly like it was so easy to go out and find people to play Warhammer with.
Yeah.
I mean, I started in quarantine, so I played like TTS for my first few games, but then I had an experienced friend who I trusted to not be a goober. Like he swung by and we played some mask games. And yeah, dude, I've been so impressed by how like welcoming, almost this entire community is. It's incredible. So why Deathwatch then?
Yeah, so at the time it was end of 2018. I'd played a few Marine armies. I'd even played some Necrons for a bit. And in Australia, we have obviously singles events. We have the occasional team event, but one thing we have every year is the Australian ATC or Australian Team Championships, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like a pinnacle event where every state sends a team of eight, their top players, and they battle it out for who's the best state. And it's a 2-day event, and it's probably the most competitive team format we have in Australia. And the state I'm in, Queensland, has classically done very well. In the last 5 years it was on, we've won four of them, and I was on the team we didn't win, but on that team, there were a few things I was trying out, and one of the ideas was Deathwatch, and it was in eighth edition. Deathwatch were not very good. This was
Mm,
before the awesome Marine Codex of 2019. This was like
yeah.
mid 2018, and we were looking at how do we get reliable, strong obsec. And one of the guys was like, "Man, this whole army can just take storm shields. This whole army has access to bolters that do way more things than normal bolters, and they have all these stratagems that can really hurt certain factions." So I think we'll talk a bit more about teams and the way you build a list in a team environment, how that's different to a singles environment where you can skew a lot more. So I started going down this rabbit hole of building a Death Watch list for teams, and since then I've essentially been on and off with the faction for 3 years. Some events I didn't do that well. Other events I did quite well. So, it's
That's the
it's
way it
definitely been a
goes.
learning curve. It's never it hasn't been an easy army to play, but it's probably one of the more rewarding armies that I've played. There's so many options, and that's one thing I love about it. It's on the table. There's always a little tool that you have to pull out when you need it with Deathwatch. So yeah, I really like it, man.
That's fantastic, dude. I'm like, yeah, I know that eighth, you know, was the old special issue ammunition. I think Primaris even had it. I think Nevin Smith was saying that even the Primaris Marines had special issue
It's
ammunition at the
it was a
time.
good time, man. It was
Yeah,
like
and
every single bolt I had it.
two up, uh, two up to wound infantry, like regardless of anything but transhumans. So yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds. Now it's only +1 to wound.
Yeah, when you could put
Which
down
is still
Magnus with
still
with
very
10
good.
veterans, that was something. It's like, here,
Oh
Magnus,
really?
take 35 saves. Yeah, just
Man,
take 30 saves, mate. Yeah.
yeah, you don't like that. That's awesome. I'm doing a little bit of cleanup here. Second, so actually I'll put that one right here. So for our listeners, later on we're gonna have Dineeth here look at some both of his own lists, but also some lists that I have found on the internet, and I want him to pick them apart, and then I will let him know who wrote them, and we'll see what his reactions are. So, as I said in our pre-talk, Dineeth, I listened to your podcast, and I listened to the latest one just yesterday, and I think it came out yesterday, and
Yeah.
I could not make sense of the first 40 minutes because you guys talked about team events, and it was red, yellow, green. You know how any hobby is, just lots of slang, and this is a subset of the 40K slang that I haven't yet learned. So, why don't you take us through for all of its new players, like what is a team event? How is it
Yeah.
structured? Let's do a general overview first, and then we could get into the nitty gritty, and then we'll go on to your lists.
Of course. Yeah. So I think I said this before the show that when I was first exposed to team events, what it felt like was, do you guys remember when you were first learning to drive with mum and dad and you were in the car park and you were really slowly steering and learning how to turn? That was singles for me. And then when we started playing teams, I was out on the road and there's all these other drivers and it was chaos because there's a level of complexity that teams adds that you can't quite explain to someone until you start playing it. So first off, when you get a group of players, let's say we're playing 4-person teams. So there's 4 people on your team. You get a group of players together and you have to figure out what armies you want to play. Now, in a singles environment, you can afford to take armies that are more take all comers that play the mission really well. And in a singles environment, you can't really have any glaring weaknesses because if you run into a particularly bad matchup, that's your event. You're going home without a podium. With teams, you have a little bit more ability to skew because the pairings process, which I'll go through in a moment, is allows you to say, okay, in that opponent's team I'm playing, 3 of those lists I can confidently beat. One of them I don't want to be anywhere near, it's going to smash me. So then you can use pairings to avoid, that list. So the
And
other
that's the
level of
green,
complexity.
yellow, red.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure people, when they go into a singles event and the lists are released like either a week before or whenever, they'll go through all the lists and say, yep, I can beat that. I can beat that. I can beat that. I can't beat that. That's a hard game. So to simplify that, a lot of players that play teams have systems that they break list down to communicate that with their team, because it's not just in your head. You've got to tell your captain, you can
Right.
expect me to score X, Y, Z points. So um, some teams do it with numbers, and team events are in the scoring, they're split in 20 points. So if I'm playing Rick, our game is worth 20 points. If Rick smashes me and tables me and gets a big score differential, he gets 20, I get 0. If it's a closer game, 18-2, 15-5. If it's a
Okay.
draw, 10-10. It's a draw. So
Ah.
they're the amount of points that we bring back to our captain or to our team
Mm.
from that game. So
All.
we discuss points like that. So some teams rate their matchups on a 0, 5, 10, 15. I like red, yellow, green, because red means I'm done. Don't give me this game. I
Yeah.
can't do anything. Yellow means
No
it's
thanks.
close. Green means I'm probably going to win. Yeah.
All right. So yellow is it's a good game of 40K.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna win by like 3 to 8 points
Yeah.
maybe. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
green is I will smash this guy blindfolded, and red is please God don't put me on the table with this list.
Yeah, and
Okay.
our team, we go into a bit more depth with that, but there's really no point of me explaining that to you at this stage. But
Sure.
essentially, having a method of rating the matchups, and then the actual pairing process happens. So you've got your team, you've got your list submitted, you've done your. For me, it's a massive Excel spreadsheet that I take. I take my big fat laptop because I don't know how an iPad works because I'm in Australia. I take this big fat laptop to the tournament, and I've got this big Excel spreadsheet, and we're sitting down, and the pairings process, guys, is like it's like the tensest but best 40K moment ever. The other team's opposite you. You roll a dice. Whoever loses the roll, first list goes out. You look at the
Oh, I
list. Oh,
see.
who are we going to put into it? Who are we going to put into it? All right, we're going to put this person in. They pick a table, and the table pick is also another level of complexity because
Oh,
there's
they
usually
pick.
some
Okay.
yeah, the
All
person
right.
who puts out the list first pick. So there's a few heavy tables, few light tables, few medium tables. So
Right.
that's another layer of complexity there. The
That's
mission,
actually really
another layer of
cool.
complexity.
It's
Yeah. So
kind of like how we roll off for deployment and then who goes first. So like
yeah,
even if
that's
you
it.
go second, you're supposed to have, well, I guess because they're independent roles, that's not always the way that it happens, but you're supposed to it's supposed to be like everybody has some advantage, right? So
Yeah.
even though you lost and you threw out the list that then your opponent can throw their green against,
Yeah. Then you
um
can pick the table.
yeah,
So
then you can help mitigate some of that by like, well,
exactly.
I'm gonna pick the heaviest, nastiest terrain table possible
Yeah.
just so that I can try to eke out some points.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's team events where we've actively made a massive gunline list to be the first put up when people didn't expect.
Yeah.
People were scared of that gunline list getting paired in, and they were like, "Oh, I'll put something up, and then I'll catch Dineeth's gunline, and then I'll pick a heavy table, then I've got him." But then we put it up. They have to put something in, and we're like, "Cool, we'll take the bowling ball."
Yeah,
So there's
please.
so
I
many
was
applications.
I
Yeah,
was actually gonna bring up that exact thing where I'm like, okay, so if you're like 8th edition Imperial Fist, you want the bowling ball.
yep. So, and there's so many things, and sometimes that spreadsheet and it can change on the fly. Like we'll get paired into, let's say, a team that we're playing in round two, and then we go, okay, guys, the mission's vital intelligence. Oh, my Dark Angels player says he can't win this game in vital intelligence. Let's change that yellow to a red, and then pairings change on the fly. We walk over to our tables. We see the tables. Oh, there's not a single dense table here. All our pairings change. So,
Ah,
having that
okay.
level of adaptability, like I said, it adds. It's so different from opening up BCP, going to your table and playing your singles opponent. So
Gotcha.
that's the part we really like about it. But yeah, for anyone who ever has the opportunity to play in teams, drag your mates along, find some guys or girls who are keen and play. It's like the American ATC, for example. It's a great team event. I know Battle for Salvation, I think, is another team event in the States. But yeah, if you ever have the opportunity, please go for
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, the United States and us, like, all right. So, quick aside, like, the United States is huge, right? So is
Yeah.
Australia, as you know, It's always funny when I talk to like Europeans and they're like, "Oh no, just go play in like Texas. It's right there, right?" I'm like, "No. Texas is Houston is like a 5-hour flight. It's
Yeah.
it's days of driving to get to Houston from Portland. Like it's not just like blink and we're there.
Yeah.
It's not like I was in Croatia and I drove from Zagreb all the way to which is at the pretty much the northern end of that country, down along the coast to Dubrovnik, which is at the very other end of it, and I think it took 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like that's
Well, hey,
driving from here to Seattle, which is only one state above me.
yeah. Well, hey, in Australia, there's essentially five competitive cities that play Warhammer.
Hmm.
And each of those cities are over 1,000 kilometers away, so
Yeah.
over 600 miles away. So it's
Yep.
like it's a long way here. It's
Exactly.
our situation is actually similar to Canada. Like everything's there's good centers, but they're all miles away.
Yeah. I'm not seeing a lot of stuff on BCP in the Portland area, but like also Vegas. Vegas is an hour and a half flight. Like it takes longer to get to the airport and get on the plane than it takes to get to Las Vegas from here. So like I've got some things going, right? And then
That's solid.
I have family that lives there too, so like I don't even need a hotel if I don't want.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
so yeah. Anyway, uh, so yeah, that seems like the teams, the like matchup things. That's a whole nother layer of meta that you need to
That's it.
know, and the whole team has to really understand. Man, that's even more of an experience jump, right? Where
It's
like
and
if you're a
and the
new
biggest
player
thing.
like me, if I show you one of my lists, I'll be like, I don't know, I guess I don't want indirect fire. But like
Well,
that's
here's the
probably
thing.
the only
It's
thing I
but that's okay. Like it's kind of like kids. You know how when kids start playing sport, there's like a certain age where kids start really picking up sport. Like if you teach a little 4-year-old how to, do a backflip, they're not going to do a backflip. But if you like, as they get more dexterous and more able, they can do more things. It's kind of the same as like if you start playing team events straight off the bat, obviously it's going to be quite over your head.
just
But yeah,
just
it's so
hell.
much going on. Yeah. But for players who are really keen to improve their game, to learn about that matchup process and just have a bit more insight on what their army does in relation to other armies, a lot of our guys have found that most of the best growth happens on kind of campaigns leading up to team events because you just get so much better at predicting the game and foreseeing what's going on.
Now here's a crazy idea. And you let me
Yeah.
know if this has ever happened. Are there pickup team events where like the only thing the TO knows is who the team leaders are gonna be, and then everybody like round robin just gets put on
uh,
a team? Like
that would be
at the event?
crazy, but I'd do it.
Like
I would do it, but that would be crazy.
that seems like the perfect like recipe. If you were going to make a TV show about like a wargaming drama, where it's like a team thing and like folks are butting heads and there's all that, that real tension from the like interpersonal stuff, that's probably how
Uh,
you do it, right?
and then we just need Gordon Ramsay to judge it, and we'd be good, man.
There you go. Oh man, this is fucking
But
shit.
yeah, this pairing sucks. But
Just swipes your
but
whole army off the table.
yeah. But look, I would play that. But funnily enough, at our team events, we always have like a ringer team in case there's odd numbers, and that ringer team is like usually a bunch of randoms don't know each other. And a couple of
Ah,
events ago, the ringer team came third. Like they
really?
podiumed. So yeah,
That's
I mean, sometimes they pull something out, and it's great. So yeah.
ring. So isn't ringer like? Isn't that somebody who is like super good? Isn't that how that terminology usually
Oh,
wins? Like, or
oh,
works? Is that it's like a ringer is like he's dead set to win this or something? Like,
oh, right. I meant like a buy team, like a team that's there in case there's odd numbers. Yeah. So they
yeah.
like for this event, they were just a bunch of random
Well,
guys, and they did really well. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right. All right. Well, thank you for the introduction to teams. I guess we can jump right into your lists. The lists you sent me two. I'm
Yes.
gonna switch views here so we can actually see the lists. The first one were both of these from
The
Team
first
Tournaments?
one was from a singles event, the Infantry keyword, and the
Okay,
second one was from a teams event. Funnily enough, the first one was a practice for a team event as well. So,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, well let's start with the infantry keyword. I love that you're naming all
This is a
of your
very
lists.
Australian thing. We
So
always name our lists, and it's
nice.
usually a cop out at someone else. Yeah.
So we have a battalion, two relics, captain with jump pack, librarian also with jump pack. I see you took here of the chapter psychic mastery. That's not one I see very often. What was
It's just +1 to cast, man.
yeah.
It's just nice to have in the pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that I see a lot of what is it? Hero of their chapter, Paragon of their chapter. Is that the
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
That's good on the smash captains and stuff,
yeah.
to give them plus strength. But yeah, I went for a few other things on the captain. I realized going Castellan for the 2 damage Xenophase was really nice. Like it
Yeah.
just doubled the damage it did. And then I just went Imperium Sword, just for strength 6 into stuff like Harlequins, which is really nice. And then +1 attack and reroll charges, which was kind of clutch. So he
Yeah.
was more a buffing character with the Dominus Aegis, so sitting
Hmm.
around the Indomitor team, which we'll talk about a bit. But he was also the threat where people were like, "Oh, I better not walk into this Indomitor team because this guy's going to poke me with his sword."
Yeah, I actually saw that you took the Xenophase blade. I thought that was a clutch idea. I'm seeing the slash captain more on the Deathwatch Discord, and it's almost always the Xenophase blade and then the
Yeah,
Black Vault, and that way it's 2 damage, and it
yeah,
is ignoring invuls, which is
yeah.
just
I
right
guess
now in ninth, invuls are so prevalent and AP is so high.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess before we dive deep, I mean the biggest thing I was thinking about this list is, this was a big singles event. It was the Australian ITC Champ, so an 8 round event,
Oh wow.
over 3 days, over
Oof.
100 players. So I thought, what were the things that would cause me trouble? And one of the biggest things that was really smashing face, obviously White Scars, Marines, and things were doing well at that stage. Salamanders were doing quite well.
Hmm.
But one of the biggest things that Marines struggled into at that time was Harlequins, and Harlequins were just trouncing people. The other thing that was really big in Australia was demons and chaos. Like a lot of people were rolling around with Mortarion and Death Guard builds. A lot of people were rolling
Yeah.
around with Beasts of Nurgle,
What was it?
Keepers of Secrets.
Yeah. Did you ever have the what is it? The three big creature list that I can't remember the name of now. It was big here
Yeah,
in
I
the United
mean,
States, but it was like Magnus, uh, one of the
Magnus and Triple
chickens.
Disco Lord, Magnus
Yeah.
and Magnus Lord of Change, Double Keeper, like all
Yeah.
of them were
There you
floating
go.
around, and so we were all scared of what would the top Chaos players bring? Would it be these super lists? And I needed tools for that. Harlequins is a big one, and also the prevalence of 2 wound Marines that could fly. So like Vanguard Vet, Sanguinary Guard, your Inceptors, which are 3 wounds. So the list
Yep.
was tailored to try and manage those units, not necessarily kill them, but try and manage them on the table and score points around them.
Okay. And then got your librarian with Premorphic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt, which are like the go-to picks for um librarians in Deathwatch because those powers are just incredible. Fight first and extra. Is it extra attack or is it +1 to hit? I think it's extra
It's
attack.
plus 1 to hit.
Okay.
It's fight first. And what was the other one?
It's
It's
some.
+1 to hit,
Isn't
fight
it something
first,
about heroic intervention? I don't know. I can look it
and
up.
I'm sorry. Actually, Premorphic is the one I cast the least. It's the one
Yeah,
I have in my back pocket just in case. Yeah.
I was gonna say
Um.
it's like I like to put on my Indomitor team as
Yeah.
a go ahead and please charge them.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
5 up Overwatch, mate. That's what it
that's
is.
it.
5
Yeah,
up
yeah.
Overwatch.
Which is
Yeah.
also clutch with
Uh,
the what we're gonna jump straight into, which is the you have an Indomitor kill team. This is the way I ran it too for a long time, with 5 of the assault 3 heavy intercessors, then 5 plasma inceptors, and now they are so goddamn expensive. There's no way you'd actually run this, but because they're what, like 60 points each now.
I think so. So it looks like the unit would be like 450 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, it's a good brick because you've got 3 up naturally, and then you got the 5 up from the Dominus Aegis, fortified with contempt, gives them a 5 up. Feel no pain. If they're being shot with a lot of 1 damage weapons, it's 1 CP to up their armor save by 1. Yeah, it's like it's a hard brick to actually move for sure. Because that's all the gravis, so it's like T5, 3 wounds throughout. Those plasma interceptors that you're trying to kill have 15 ablative wounds in front of them. Like, it's just really hard to kill them.
I loved when people shot at this unit. Like, if they didn't have the tech, I played one Ultramarines player with Seal of Oath, where he selected one unit to get full rerolls against. That was a bad game to stick this unit out, but every other game I loved when people shot at this because they'd classically kill like 1 or 2 Marines, and next turn my Apothecary, which will go over next, will just pick it back up, and then the game in this archetype was won by all the fringe units, all the Proteus kill teams that we'll talk about. This Indomitor team was just a core. And that core just soaked the fire, did some, like, was a big scary, hey, look at me, I'm a distraction, while all the Proteus teams actually did all the scoring. So but yeah, and the other power on the Libby, Mantle of Shadows, is probably my favorite power ever
Really?
in 40k.
I
So imagine this
I gotta
situation.
say, I don't remember what it does.
So it's warp charge 6. You select an infantry unit within 12. That unit can only be shot by models within 12 inches, or that are the closest visible unit to that model. So it's essentially like a cloud of flies. So think of a situation
It's
where
like
you have back.
it's like Shroud Field, but for infantry, and it's
So the
psychic
perfect
power.
unit, the perfect situation in this, well, there's a couple. The first one was when a unit was doing actions that required to be safe into your opponent's turn. That was beautiful for it, because if you shoot or charge, you lose the effect of this, but you can still do an action and it can still be hidden. So it's great to shield off a unit that was doing an action.
Right.
The second thing I loved about this is I would often take deploy scramblers in missions that I knew my opponent couldn't screen out their own deployment zone if they wanted to win the primary. So against Harlequins, for example, because they're full of elite units, they can't afford to screen a big deployment zone. So I'd take deploy scramblers. So every turn, my powers would be cool. I'm going to put Fortify with Contempt on the Indomitor team for a 5 up, feel no pain. And then that that Infiltrator team that's behind me, I'm just going to put Mantle on. So that Infiltrator team, 2 things are happening. You've got to be the closest to shoot it, but because it's an Infiltrator unit, you can't drop within 12.
Right.
So that unit is essentially safe for the whole game from shooting.
Yeah.
So you can't drop within 12. You've got to physically walk towards it. So, and then a sneaky turn 4, turn 5, guerrilla tactics into the opponent's deployment zone. Deploy scrambler is done.
Which has been nerfed.
Has been FAQ'd now. It has been FAQ'd now. You can't do it anymore. But for example, I played, without going into too much detail, I played a lot of while we stand, we fight in this list.
I was gonna ask about your secondaries as well, but just so we don't get too off base yet.
Of course.
Then it's 4 Proteus kill teams, which I love. Almost all of them built the exact same way. Tons of storm shields, which I also love. The storm shields have frustrated my friends multiple times, where they're like, "Oh, it's only 5 dudes; they'll die easy." It's like, no, sorry. But one of them has a power fist on a Vanguard vet, has a heavy thunder hammer. Because if Deathwatch wasn't crazy enough, we're the only chapter that brings a base 4 damage thunder hammer.
Yep.
It's crazy. And then 3 more. So this is your I am going to drop these guys and smack a tank.
Yeah,
And then I
that's the
will,
get stuff done team.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I will consolidate into another tank.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you
So
can't kill me because I have storm shields.
yeah, so I had four Proteus teams. Essentially, they all had five dudes with a bolt gun and a storm shield, and they were
Mhm.
backfield lads. So 20 guys just chilling out, moving around, doing actions, holding objectives, whatever. And then I broke off the Vanguard vets. So three of them had five Vanguard vets with Lightning Claw and Shield, which were just like cookie cutter dudes. You could just send them into little fights. They were OBSEC. A
Yeah.
great unit to just Brotherhood of Veterans and stuff. Send them in. Do some damage,
Best strat in the
and
game.
just be annoying. Oh, so good. And
So good.
just be annoying obsec. But that Thunderhammer unit was really nice just because Deathwatch combat is really interesting. Like, we can't actually go toe to toe with White Scars and Blood Angels. Like, we can't have that direct fight. Just because, like, we've got all these points in veterans with Storm Shields or Bolters, well, they've got all these points in Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard vets. So I needed a unit that was a big clear out unit that would get a big bag for their buck. And that 4 damage hammer, so good into Dreadnoughts with neg 1 damage, so good
Yep.
into Blight Lord Terminators and
I was
Death
gonna
Shroud and
say
stuff. Yeah.
all of Death Guard.
Yeah. So, like, you
Yeah.
just need a few saves to go
Those
through, and the Death Guard player was annoyed. Yeah.
one of the people I play in my little group the most is Steven, who plays Death Guard, and he loves his three Plague Burst crawlers. And man, like, I have such trouble removing them. Like, effectively, my goal is if I get some stuff stuck in on them, at least they can't shoot the things I want that he wants
That's
to
it.
be shooting with them. And that's
Exactly right.
I just contain them for the whole game. I can't kill them. They're T8 -1 damage, like, just demon
Yeah.
save, they're bonkers. Unless I'm
Yeah.
playing
Silly.
my Grey Knights, and then I think they're demon engines, so you're just like
Yeah, you'll
smiting
put
them
them
right
in the
off.
bin with the Grey Knights.
Yeah, smiting them right off the board. Get out of here.
Yeah,
uh,
get off my lawn.
yeah. So then you rounded out with the classic Spectrus kill team, 5 infiltrators, which you can really string out in your backfield and make landing in there just a nightmare. It pretty much like shuts down that Necron move where they take that HQ and then like one unit of 20 warriors and try to plop it in your backfield because there's just not enough room. They can't put 20
Yeah.
warriors down.
On
I forgot,
the
what's that
corner,
ability called? Like, what's that?
the Veil of Darkness.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know what it
Yeah.
does. I just don't ever remember what it's called.
Yeah. So 5 infiltrators can actually block out a whole sweep and clear deployment zone, the corner. So if you place them correctly, they'll
Oh,
block out the whole zone. Yeah.
good to
It's
know.
ridiculous.
Pro tip, guys. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have the standard, well, almost standard, and I'll get into why it's not, and I love this. We have the Primaris Apothecary, Chief Apothecary, and the Selfless Healer combo, which has also been slightly nerfed now. I think the Apothecary went up like 15 points or something.
Yeah.
Yep. But then the relic you slapped on here, I saw a lot of people using the Vox Auspicitor or whatever, which increases their aura from 3 inches to 6. But you
Vox,
took
Vox Aspiratum. Yeah.
right, but then you took the Vorkan Pattern Auspicicator, which I am seeing when I talked to Jason Snagowski. I brought up this relic. I'm like, isn't this kind of a sleeper pick, right? Like, there's so much shit out there with fly that's scary as hell. You got Vanguard vets in every Space Marine army. You got Sanguinary Guard and Blood Angels. You've got Raiders right now, right? Like, just there's so much scary stuff out there, and I'm sure like even Mortarion has fly. Like, there's all this scary stuff with fly out there, and what the Vorkan Pattern Auspicicator does is in a 6-inch bubble from that character, everything in it gets a +1 to hit against fly units. So you can, especially if you're rolling a death ball like this one, you have that Indomitor kill team always hitting on 2s against anything that flies. you like it's really good. And I see that you took it like now. Jason
I think
Snagowski.
this was 5 months ago. This was in
Sure.
January.
No, like, but I'm saying like this is so cool to see,
Mhm.
right? Like, because Jason Snagowski took it to the Atlantic City Open because our conversation kind of like changed his mind, and then I also saw Jack Harpster, who at the
Yes.
Atlantic City Open placed 11th as Deathwatch, also rolled with this relic, and I'm assuming it's for the same reasons. Like,
Yeah, man.
there's so much
Look,
scary stuff out there with Fly, and this just helps you be more effective in dropping that thing. So I
yeah, and
love
look,
seeing this.
on that topic, I mean, I really want to test out Jack Harpster's list. It was beautiful. I
Here
want to
we
see
go.
if those shotguns are really
There we
what they're up
go.
for.
Yeah, baby.
So I'm keen to test it. But man, the Vorken, it's such a big name. I'm just gonna call it the Vorken.
That's fine.
It throws the math so much simply because you reroll ones in so many occasions. Like you've
Hmm.
got your captain rerolling ones. You know.
And then we're
So
we're probably re-rolling ones to wound because we're Deathwatch.
yeah. So let's pick a turn where there's 20 sanguinary guard in front of you. So you split your fire into the two squads of 10. So you have 30 shots from five in. This is not even this is the Indomitor team with the Inceptors, not even including the Assault Bolters. So 30 shots will give you 29 hits, which gives you 28 wounds on average. They're at -4,
Oh
so they're
yeah,
taking 6 up
because
saves.
and
You've just
you're
killed 20.
overcharging.
Yeah, man, you're
Of course
overcharging. So
you're
you've just
overcharging.
killed 22 sanguinary guard. Like
Yeah.
that's normal maths.
At what?
If they have a four,
What
yeah,
are they?
at 18 inches, they're two
What's
up
their
save.
points?
So that's 600 points of sanguinary guard.
That's yeah. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Or if they have a 4 up invo and they're Vanguard vets, you've just killed 11 or 12 Vanguard vets. So that unit's paid for itself. It also throws the maths on certain things really well. So hitting on twos, winning on twos, rerolling ones on both means you can predictably kill 9 scarabs. The
Oh
reason I've
yeah.
put the reason I've put even through the chronomancy invo,
Scarabs.
the reason I've put the assault bolters in onto the Indomitor team is that throws the maths just enough to kill 20 warriors through the invo, 20 warriors with a 5 up.
Hmm.
And it also means against Harlequin boats, you can split the fire of the assault bolters in one inceptor and then 4 inceptors into another boat and kill both. So it was
Nice.
like just that little bit of maths, and the Vorken pattern auspicator helped in a lot of those cases. And I think it's one of the best relics we have because I was
I
testing out the tome. The tome of Ectoclades is like, yeah, it's cool when it pops off, but it's like for one turn, and the stars have to align, and 7 raiders have to be in front of you, and then yeah, it's cool.
well,
But yeah,
yes. I mean, I think you're falling into a trap there, which I've done as well, which is just like when you have a one-shot relic, you want it to always do the maximum that it possibly
yeah,
can. And sometimes you
yeah,
just need it to do a little thing, but you're not or at least for me, I'm not like good enough yet where I think that through, right? Like
yeah,
I was
and
talking to Nevin Smith, and he's like, when you're deploying, you need to know what you're gonna be doing like turn 3. And I'm like, man, I don't even
yep.
fucking know what I'm gonna be doing turn 1 yet. Like
Yeah.
I'm still
So
learning this game.
in those situations with the tome, I had about 5 or 6 practice games with the tome of Ectoclades, and I thought, how impactful was this relic in these games? And yeah, they had a bit of impact. And then I asked myself, how impactful would a +1 to hit against fly be instead of that? And in every single one of those games, it was way more. It was considerably more. So and since then I found the Vulcan is awesome. And if it's anything like, because I want people to be really scared of this big Indomitor team, you go, oh, so by the way, mate, all these Pliceptors and Assault Bolters, it's like 30 plus 15, 45 shots, hitting on twos, rolling ones, winning on twos and threes, rolling ones. It'll kill a lot. Then people freak out. Then they go
Yeah.
for the Indomitor team, and it's like, come into my mitt.
Yes, and you're like
Yeah,
perfect. Mm.
yeah. So it's lovely. I like it.
That's rad. This actually looks a lot like some of the lists I was running just a few months ago. Like the Storm Shields, man, on just your bog standard Deathwatch vet is I had a game against Custodes, and I had some vets on an objective, and they were hiding, and so he dropped down one of those crazy dreadnoughts. Don't remember the name because, like I said, pretty new to this game. Anyway, he drops down a
Yeah.
dreadnought, not the Telemon, it was the other one, but he gets off his charge, and he's like, I'm gonna hold this," and I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. And he only killed 2.5, and I'm like, don't forget they're OBSEC, so I could score
Yeah.
another 5 points. And I'm like, those guys
So good.
paid for themselves at that moment. Like the 20 points for 5 of them to have the storm shields. I knew they weren't gonna remove that dreadnought. Like I didn't fire Overwatch. There's no, like, even if I chipped a wound or two, it doesn't matter in the long run. But I needed them to stay alive on that objective so I could score 5 more points in my turn, which is exactly what happened.
Mhm. That's it, man.
Yeah.
It's there's still a beautiful choice, and I think people were doubting like the marine body with the storm shield while the liquefiers in Dark Eldar were going crazy. And now that they've been brought back down, I think there's actually game for storm shield carrying vets, to keep flourishing. Because I know as Drakari was smashing, it was a hard time for these vet units. But I
Yeah.
think there's a bit of time in the sun now, and strong, solid obsec is still hard to come by. And Deathwatch do it really well.
I've only gotten curb stomped by the liquefier thing once, and it wasn't even
Oh man.
I was rolling my, I have 1,000 points of sisters, and I was playing them against a friend for 2 games. So for game 1, he's like, I'm gonna play Drukari, but I'm not playing all the stuff that I know is totally busted. And that
Yeah,
was
okay, good.
actually like a really fun game. I
Hmm.
was learning the army. I didn't know all the strats and all that stuff, but like, he beat me by 20 something odd points, but it felt like if I played more, that I could vastly narrow that, right? The second game, he's like, "Okay, I'm going to play all the busted shit." And I've had like 2 beers, 3 beers. So I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." That was not fun at all. Like, other than
Yeah,
the fact that we were laughing about how ridiculous it was, like, I had no chance. It
yeah.
was
Like
absurd.
the last in 2 team events recently, I actually played Trakari.
Oh,
And like,
as?
yeah, yeah. So
Aw,
10 games,
rude.
and yeah. The last time I played it, I had 13 liquefiers in it, and that was just this weekend. And I played a White Scars player, one of my good friends actually. And it was like a turn 3 tabling, and I lost like 1 raider, 5 racks, 5 incubi, and I
Hmm.
felt so like I was like, man, this shouldn't exist. So I'm so
Yeah.
happy they changed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
um,
imagine if Hellblasters could overcharge and never die. Like,
yep.
just all the time. Although it's worse because they're also auto hitting. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
it would be, yeah. All right, let's jump into list number 2. So this one, learning to fly, which I noticed you named it that, but there actually aren't. I was expecting a lot of Vanguard vets.
Mate, there's a
Um,
Corvus Blackstar in there.
I know, which I was gonna get to. I love.
Yeah.
I love that model. I've said it before. I think this is the third video I've actually said it in. That is the best looking flyer in the whole game.
Yep.
And I will go, unless Games Workshop changes something drastic soon. I will go to my grave with those words on my lips because that thing
Yep.
is really
It's
cool
beautiful.
looking. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. So
It's,
this was for a team event. Yep.
mhm.
Um,
Um,
looks like you got pretty much the same thing going on with your captain.
yeah, I
Uh,
can give you the executive summary if you like.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's almost the same list. Heroes are the same. The kill teams are almost identical. I took the
Hmm.
Thunderhammer team out, so that was 300-ish points saved. Um, Instead of that Thunderhammer team, so I was 10 veterans down. Instead of that Thunderhammer team, I put a Corvus Blackstar, which we'll get to in a moment, and then a unit of veteran bikers that I wanted to test. And they were actually really interesting. I quite like them.
I was gonna ask because I look at a lot of Deathwatch lists and I don't almost ever see veteran bikers by themselves.
Mhm.
You know, it's very common to throw them in a Proteus team that is melee oriented, and that way for one CP they can fall back and charge again for all those extra attacks. Like, it's great. But let's, so like you said, it's effectively the same. Same relics even, it looks like. So let's go
Yeah,
ahead and talk about those bikers and that Blackstar then.
yeah, man. So the bikers, it was a choice either between a Calidus assassin, an Inquisitor, or these three bikers. And after the event, I thought the bikers were cool. I didn't think they were necessary, but they're a cool piece of tech because it was easy access to 20-inch advances, and that was quite impactful for a couple of reasons. The first one was because if I could do a 20-inch advance, I could easily get engagement fronts with a unit that was under 100 points turn one, and then throw the Corvus into another quarter and
Mm-hmm.
get 3 engagement fronts a turn. The other thing that made them really cool is if I was going first and my opponent had picked raise the banners, what I could do was launch these bikes onto an objective to touch it, so they couldn't put a banner up, and then move the Corvus full of veterans to another objective, forcing them to kill the Corvus, because it's kind of like you can put a banner up here, but I'm just gonna get my guys out and take it off you next turn.
Yeah.
Or you could try and kill the Corvus, and my guys fall out anyway. You might
And then,
kill one or two, but then your banner's done because at the end of the shooting phase, it's mine. So I'd I'd use that biker unit as like a little annoying niggly unit rather than sending out 5 Vanguard vets which were like 150 points. This was a little bit cheaper. It was also toughness 5 base, and because you can put a storm shield on the sergeant, it was sneakily durable. Like you could just tank the big hits. Um, and the bikers charging with chainswords have 4, 4, and 5 attacks. So it's 13 attacks on the charge. So they're actually not bad. So you have a good indication for using them in assault doctrine when you pick it to just carve up something little. So they're an interesting unit. I haven't gone back to them, but I still think there's some play if people want to try a little unit of veteran bikers if the list needs it. So I think it's kind of cool.
yeah, that's really, that's a great idea. Just
Yeah,
I mean, I did the whole, when I started playing Deathwatch, I did the whole 5 Outriders, 5 Intercessor,
it's
try to
such a
like
trap, isn't
string
it?
them out. It
Such a
really
trap.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
It really, I
I have
never, yeah.
I have 10 painted and based Deathwatch Outriders, and I played one game with them. I'm like, nah, nah, I can't even
I
deploy them. There's
did,
too much space.
I have 15,
Oh man.
but I never painted them or based them, uh,
Yep, nice.
because my friends are pretty cool about us just like doing test games with Grey Tide or whatever. So they
Yeah,
are primed,
yeah,
but I've never actually, which means they're 50% painted for
yeah.
for Deathwatch. But
It means you can't sell them, right? You can't sell them for a good
oh
amount.
yeah, that's
But
true. But it's a
it's
good thing that never even entered my mind
yeah.
because I like the models
Um,
anyway. So
yeah. Now, Rick, are you ready? Are
for
you
the
ready for my
Corvus
Lord and Savior, the Corvus Blackstar?
with the
Um,
Auspex array, hell yeah.
Yeah, mate. So I think for any Deathwatch player who hasn't tried the Corvus and has written it off as a 200-point Rhino, please give it a shot because there's actually some really cool applications with the Corvus. The reason I first put it in was because in the previous list when I had 40 veterans, 40 Proteus veterans, I would have half of them break off as Vanguard vets, so 20 would be going forward and scoring and fighting, and the other 20 would be sitting in my backfield. And then I realized I was like, wow, that's actually like 400 plus points standing
Yeah.
around and scoring points and doing nothing, which is cool when the Vanguard vets start dying, when you can push out and do stuff, but they don't really punch on that hard either. The bolters are negligible. They do a bit of damage, but nothing exceptional. They're kind of just there to harass and annoy. So I needed a better way to get my infantry to a spot rather than sit in my home base. I also wanted something that would be a second distraction from the Indomitor team because as good as that is soaking fire, I'd like it to stay alive
Yeah.
because it's a while we stand. So there were some games where I thought that was important, and I'll go through some of the games where this Corvus did really well. But what it meant is I could set up situations like if I go second, cool, 2 CP Shroud. I don't care. Like you can't shoot the Corvus, and I can do my thing anyway. And I'm going second then, So I'm doing my ability to score well on things like grind if I take it, or I can react and kill things. If I'm going first, I can throw that Corvus into a corner, and if it's got 10 Storm Shield vets inside it, you can camp it on the corner, saying, "Hey, come and deal with me, or I'm going to drop 5 guys out here, and then fly to another corner, and then drop 5 more guys out. If you don't deal me, if you deal with me, my guys fall out anyway, and I'll get 15 on primary. You can choose what happens there.
Yeah. How do
It
you?
was amazing. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say. So, how do you feel like when you're using the Corvus that way? Okay, let's say that works. So, turn one, or your turn one, you fly them up to a corner, right? Obviously, they can't get out till turn two. So then you
Yep.
drop 5 on turn two, and then you fly to the other corner, and you drop 5 on turn three. Like, that's that's 10 Vanguard vets not doing anything turn one, which granted is very
These
common because we deep
these will
strike
be
them a
the
lot.
bolter. These will be the bolter and
Oh,
shield vets in
I'm
there.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, those vets. Of
Yes. So
course.
it gave
Yeah.
a really
Okay.
interesting way to transport them around. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um, and there were a few other niche applications that came around. Like for example, the Corvus drops bombs, which is amazing. The Corvus inherently ignores cover, which is amazing.
With
The
the
Corvus
Auspex
is
array, it does. Yes.
amazing. Yep.
5
Um,
points. 5 points to ignore cover. Like, that's
silly,
yeah, that's
silly.
really good.
The Corvus, yeah, like I said, drops bombs. The Corvus benefits from not mission tactics with Xenos hunters, so you get reroll ones to wound against stuff, which is amazing.
Yep.
Especially if you're shooting toughness 3 infantry with an assault cannon, it's 2s into 1s, lovely. The Corvus can also fly off the board, Rick, which is awesome when you're playing While We Stand We Fight, because in a few games I would have 2 veterans left in a While We Stand unit. They jump into the plane in turn 4. I'd fly off the board. My
Yep.
opponent had no agency on killing those models
You've got at
until
least
the end of the
10
game.
points at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was a beautiful way to get While We Stand. And at the end of this event, I kind of asked myself, did I miss those extra 10 veterans? And the answer in every single game was no, because the Corvus added a lot more utility than those 10 veterans, and it just threw a little spanner in my opponent's plan, to what they were going to do, how they were going to break down the Deathwatch army. All of a sudden, there's a plane with 10 OBSEC veterans in a corner going, "Hey, I'm going to take this objective off you if you don't do
Yeah.
anything."
And
So
it's 14 wounds, toughness 7. So it's like, I
yeah.
mean, it is a rhino
Mhm.
defensively, but it's also a beefy rhino,
Yeah.
right?
One
Because
interesting thing as well, right, is that shroud, the shroud stratagem that we have for the Corvus. It works for the whole first battle round. So there's actually one game where I went first, popped shroud, moved the Corvus into a corner, put the bikes forward, and stuck a single infiltrator out. So my opponent could see the bikes and the infiltrators before the Corvus.
oh,
So they had to kill both those things, and they didn't have enough firepower to kill both those things. If they shot at the bikes, I could neg one to hit them. If they shot at the infiltrators, I could neg one to hit them. And they had a helix gauntlet, so the first failed save is 0 damage, or I could transhuman them. Um, and if they charge the bikers, cool. The vets will get out and beat you up later. So there was one game where I set that up against a Necron player, and it worked out super well.
that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that. So, yeah. Shroud Field. Pretty good.
There's one more application that I could talk about. It's very far fetched. Probably needs an FAQ. Are you ready for it?
Do it. Let's.
Uh,
Are you ready
have you,
to give away a trade
oh
secret?
man, have you had a read of the Deathwatch Power Neural Void?
I mean, I've read the whole
It's
supplement, but that one isn't sticking out to me.
so 18-inch power, warp charge 7. Select an enemy unit. You neg one attack that unit. So that
Mm-hmm.
unit, let's say it's a possessed unit, loses 1 attack, and it can only declare a charge against the
Closest
closest
model.
model.
That's right. I remember now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what if they can't charge a Corvus? Do you just throw a Corvus up, cast a spell, and then they just can't charge anything? So it probably needs an FAQ, but the
Yeah.
Corvus could all of a sudden become an amazing shield for your army if it stops them charging you like that.
Yeah. It does. It does not say eligible charge target
Yep.
or
It
whatever.
doesn't
It
say
just
eligible,
says
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. So as a flyer, they don't have the fly keyword.
yeah.
You're just like,
So that probably
yeah.
needs an FAQ. I'm not going to go around saying that's the reason to take a Corvus, but
I think I
it's
remember when the Deathwatch supplement came out, Nick Nanavati was doing some Art of War interview, and I think he mentioned something about that too, and how you could do that. And
Yeah.
but obviously, it's not seeing a lot of play, right?
No, I mean,
So
yeah, it's very very niche, but yeah,
yeah.
so interesting stuff. But
So
no, I think I'd probably take a Corvus in most Deathwatch lists I run, man. They're great.
I just before we move away from the beauty that is the Corvus, so I have the data sheet up on my computer here, and I just want to remind everybody, like, it's 14 wounds, toughness 7. If you compare it to, and I just picked a Void Raven because it's what came to mind. It's probably not the best comparison because it's a bomber and not a transport, but the Drakari Void Raven is 2 fewer wounds, 1 whole toughness less. And it has a 4-up save, not a 3-up save. So, like, the Corvus is remarkably more survivable than a lot of the flyers out there, than the good flyers, right? So there's the Void Raven Bomber. What's the name of um, the AdMech flyer that they're bringing a lot of right now?
Yeah, the Archaeopters. So that's a good comparison. I know the Archaeopters are now toughness 7, but I believe they're 10 wounds.
Ooh.
They've got a 3-up armor base, but they do have a 6-up invo. So like the Void Raven as well, the Dark Eldar one has a 5-up invo base, which makes it, interesting in terms of durability. The Archaeopters, I think, are slightly fewer points than the Corvus. I think they're in the high hundreds. I think the Corvus is in that tier just between like your Storm Talons and your Storm Raven. Like it's got a few less guns than a Storm Raven, but it's got the same defensive profile as your Storm Raven. So I think for the army, it does a lot. Like you don't see a Storm Raven in a Marine army because like a Ultramarines army or an Imperial Fist army doesn't really need that. But a Deathwatch army has some cool tricks you can use on the Corvus. So yeah, guys and girls, if you have a Corvus sitting around, please practice it. It's great.
Yeah, if you I pulled it up again. So yeah, it is toughness 7, but it's only 10 wounds, 3-up save. So yeah, but those extra 4 wounds, I mean, that's almost 50, almost. I mean, that's 40% more wounds. That's significant.
Yep.
And that's also 40% higher threshold before you're bracketed, which is big as well. So,
That's it. Yep.
yeah, very cool. All right. Let's jump into. Actually, let's talk about secondaries for these 2 lists. So they're very similar
Yeah.
lists. So you're clearly going for engage on all fronts, at
Yep.
least for the second one. I assume also the first. It's just a really good. Everybody takes it for a reason. Almost everybody takes it for a reason, right? Jason Snagowski told me he's like, in ninth you have to take objectives, and engage is giving you bonus points for playing the primary. So like, why wouldn't you, right? So
Yeah.
you gotta be moving up and taking things. Why not get an extra trickle of some points for moving up and taking things? But with the
Mhm.
Corvus and the vets on the bikes here, you're really optimizing that. Like you
Yeah.
are
If,
like,
if
I
I
want
can,
this 3. I want 3 points every turn,
yeah.
ideally, or 15.
Yeah, like if I can add, there's definitely some missions where domination or the new stranglehold is better than
Mm-hmm.
engage. So like surround and destroy battle lines, for example, where the objectives are in the middle and in your zone, and you've just got to touch the middle every turn to get domination or stranglehold. They're obvious cases where you want to play that. The missions I'd pick engage were when I was thrown into a few harder matchups, and they were missions I didn't want to fight on the objectives. And where if I got, 10 primary a turn, my opponent got 15s, cool. They only win by 5 primary. I'd rather be safe and get engaged, be away from the objectives, and just do what I can to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think players, especially with Deathwatch, you have so much obsec that you can just contest Stranglehold better than engage sometimes. But having the option to play engage when you're fighting like a Death Guard army or a Blood Angels army that you can't really take head on, that's always a great option to have in the bag. So yeah, I totally agree, man.
So while we stand, we fight. engage, and then your third was probably tailored towards the enemy. So like
Yeah, I
if
mean,
they had a lot of vehicles, grind them down.
yeah, I liked banners and scramblers on the mission. I like if I had access to a couple of objectives to start, I'd go banners. If like in vital intel when the deployment zone is huge, I could go scramblers if they couldn't afford to screen it. Like I played a Harlequin player on vital intel, and he had 40 players, 2 units of bikes. I know he needed every single model to play the primary in the middle on vital intelligence with the diagonal objectives in the
Yeah,
middle.
I
So I just took scramblers, and he didn't care about it. He moved forward. I got lucky and killed a lot of
so
his army, and then I just turn full scrambled.
so against Harlequins, you didn't take suffer not the alien, where it's 1 point per destroyed unit. I mean,
I actually think that secondary is a massive trap.
really,
Yeah,
Jason
it's
Snagowski disagrees with you.
yeah. Oh, that's fine.
No, no,
That's
no.
totally fine.
I'm not
Um,
saying that to like start a beef. I'm just
yeah,
like saying I just posted up my second
yeah,
interview with him, and he's like, every time I ran against any Xenos, I took that one.
yeah. So if we look at a typical Harlequin army, it's got two to three, let's say 3 characters, 4 units of players, 4 transports, and 2 Harlequin bike units. That's 10 to 12 points.
Okay,
So if I
if
table
you
if I
table them,
table my
yeah.
opponent, I get 12 points. Versus if I keep 3 key units alive, I'll get 15. If I lose 1 unit in the process, I get 10, and I don't have to table my opponent. Because if
Right.
I take Suffer Not the Alien, especially on a mission where the opponent has 2 objectives, he's going to sit back and he's going to not come at me and just score 40 on the primary and score 10 on banners.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what if they've picked? Because I can guarantee, like, the Harlequins like fighting Marines, but I know Harlequins don't really like fighting this Deathwatch army, nor do Craft Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start picking defensive secondaries and you've got Suffer Not the Alien in there, it starts to get a bit of a trap. While if they dive at you because you've got While We Stand, it kind of plays into that. Oh, I've got to stop him getting While We Stand. I've got to kill his units. And that's exactly where you want them. You want them right in front of your line. They've hit you, they've done a bit of damage, and then you want to pounce and push them out. So
Okay.
I I I I I figured it was a trap because sometimes your opponent might play defensively, but also it might affect what they do.
Right.
Let's say they give you like 5 units and they can still get 40 on primary. Well, that secondary is a bit in the dirt. Now,
Yeah.
with Drakari, it gets a bit easier if people are playing into like multiple transports, multiple MSU racks. But I think the way Drakari is going in our city here, me and a few other players started playing around with Artists of Flesh covens, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but it's a coven that gives neg 1 damage, and it's
So it's
absolutely
duty
preposterous.
eternal, but for the whole army.
Yeah, it's
It's
ridiculous. So
like
you've
they're now Death Guard.
yeah, if a fully buffed Repentia unit charges 5 Dark Eldar Grotesques that have a 5-up invo and neg 1 damage and 5-up feel no pain, the Repentia just killed 2 Grotesques, and the remaining 3 Grotesques kill the whole Repentia unit.
I mean, then they do mortal wounds when they die, but yes, I
That's
mean,
okay. They have a
yeah.
5-up feel no pain, so they'll
Oh,
take
okay.
4 mortal wounds and then they'll lose 2 wounds, and the Homunculus will heal him up next turn.
Okay.
And
Fair
then their
enough.
advanced charge. Yeah, so um,
And fight on
like a
death,
few.
but it's
Yeah, like a
expensive.
lot
But yeah.
of it doesn't matter. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of players in our area are running like 2 units of Grotesque, 2 units of 3 Talos as Artists of Flesh.
Huh.
So if
Okay.
that meta starts rolling around, and I,
Yeah.
I actually think that's going to be a pretty prevalent meta in the next 3 to 4 months as Drakari kind of transitions from that boogeyman sword into that shieldy, grindy teams list or singles list that we might see.
Interesting.
Um,
I
I
don't
think
ever
that
think of Jakar as being grindy or tough in any way.
yeah.
Like,
Oh man.
because, I'm the, like you just said, right? I'm used to fighting against the tier 3 1 wound, like, and -1 damage on a 1 wound model doesn't matter. They're
Yeah.
going to die, right? Like, so yeah, run into my storm bolters if I'm playing Grey Knights, or all of my Overwatch if I'm playing Deathwatch, right? It's just
Yeah.
I'll shoot you to death. I will,
Yeah.
like your Corvus in list 2 here. That's a lot of shots. Twin assault cannon, wounding on 2s against toughness 3 models, and then you have the hurricane bolter still wounding on 3s. Like, And those rocket launchers are blast,
Yep.
assuming anything's running large units,
But
yeah,
Rick, we've got to crack the raider first. We've got to kill the raider, and
it's
if we're
true.
killing the raider, we're within 18 inches of the raider, and whatever's within 18 inches of the raider is dead next turn
Yeah,
because it's getting charged. So it's such a
it's true.
hard like
Yep.
picking Suffer up the alien against Drakari. Like you've got to have like a line of dreadnoughts or something with ridiculous firepower
Okay.
to weaponize that. Yeah. So for this infantry list, I really didn't like it unless I was playing like super MSU craft worlds or something.
Mm,
Or the only other time I actually took it was when I was playing Super MSU Harlequins, where they had 6 transports, 6 units of players, and 4 characters. And I
okay.
was like,
Yeah.
cool. If I kill
Because
your
then you're
second
like,
boat, that's 12.
so this is a great thing to talk about, because like we discussed earlier with the like extra layer of the meta at the team level event where you're like picking your matchups and your tables, right? That's another layer. And secondaries is in itself another layer as well, which you need to be very much aware of whether you're playing a singles or a team game. And it's really, honestly, that and deployment are probably my two weakest skills right now, is like when to pick what secondaries against what armies, looking at my list versus their list, at, and the mission and the terrain, right? There's so much that goes into what makes a good secondary. Like you said, deploy scramblers, right, is fantastic on vital ground, because of that wonky. I hate that. Like, I don't even like putting it up on the board where you gotta
It's
like
actually
measure it
it's
out.
my
It's your
it's my
favorite.
favorite mission,
Oh
Vital.
wow.
Oh, it's so good, man. Because you have so much like ability to swing the deployment into like the long ways or the short ways.
Mm-hmm.
So like it has like you can
Where
deploy in a certain way and then
where do you
completely swing
swirl?
it. Oh, I love the hammer and anvil, the long deployment. I love it.
Oh,
Stay as far away from me as possible. Yeah.
yeah. No, I was talking about what I guess vital intelligence, to your point, does is like you get to decide, do you want to start the swirl halfway up the board effectively, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's it.
because
Yeah.
that's, and for new players who are listening, the swirl is where you send the bulk of your army up one side, and then typically your opponent will send the bulk of theirs up the other side, and you kind of do a swirl around the table. So
Yep.
you throw like small units in the way of their main army to slow them down. They're doing the same to you, and that is how the swirl typically goes down. And
It's
then,
really good description of that. Actually, I've never thought about it that way, but you're right. It kind of just
yeah,
like
it's like a toilet
moves
bowl.
that way.
Just,
Yeah, and there's little
just,
combats here and there.
yep.
Yeah, cool.
Everything's flushing. Is what,
Yeah.
yeah. Unless it's like Dark Angels or like Death Guard Blight Lords, and they just sit right in the middle, and they're like,
Yeah.
right. But anyway, so great secondaries. So while we say we fight, you like banners, and oh no, you don't. You do like banners, or you don't
Oh,
like banners?
yeah, Banners is nice, man. Banners is another nice one where you can go, look at me, I'm sitting on my side of the board, I'm getting 15 while we stand, I'm getting, 10 banners at the end of the game. What are
Mm-hmm.
you, my opponent, going to do about it? So
I had
Banners is
never.
nice to bring them in.
I hardly ever use banners, but I guess I never thought of it that way. Where it's like if you have two objectives in your deployment zone, and you don't banner up anything else on the board for the whole game,
You just get 10,
you're
man.
still
Like, it's
getting
lovely.
10.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, and like folks took, especially at the start of ninth, like deploy scramblers was rampant, and that was only 10. It's been
Yeah.
changed now to what? It's 4, 8, and 12 or something.
I think it goes up to 12 if you do all the quarters. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, very like it's just I wanted to point out that it's not like this game is just my army into your army. Like there's so much to think about, and that's what makes it so interesting. Like, everybody has primary, sure, but then you have to pick your secondaries, and there are ones that are different for the mission, and some are good and some are bad. And and you need to know, like, even if it's a traditionally good mission secondary, can your army complete that?
Yep.
So it's just all the layers is cool. I just wanted to
And
like point that out.
yeah, and I think different people playing even the same like faction or army will find different things that they're inherently better at.
Hmm.
Like that example of Suffer Not the Alien. There might be players who actually get really good results on that, and more power to you. Keep playing it. But you've got to kind of find out what works in your hands. Like if someone listening goes, "Oh, Denise said, well, we stand, we fight. It's great, so let's play it." I mean, there's been a change to it now. So if you lose part of a unit, you only get three,
Yeah,
not the five. So
that
it
was
may not be. Yeah.
that was pretty abusable by us.
Oh, I loved it, man. It was
Because
it was amazing.
like the Proteus kill team, like you make it, one or two of them cost the same
Yeah.
amount more than the other,
Perfect.
and then you break them up, and now they not only have to kill the Terminators that you're dropping in their backfield, but they also have to kill those Shaft
Yeah.
five vets on your backfield.
The best was when you could protect yourself from getting pushed on one flank. Like, let's say we're playing Scorched Earth, and I've got Team A is here, Team B is here, but the Vanguard vets for Team A is here, and the Vanguard for Team B is here. So you push up, that flank folds, but you've still got both while we stand on this side. It was pretty funny.
That's right.
So you
Yeah,
could like
that's a good
really
point.
muck around with deployment. Yeah, so it was
Yes.
good, but now it's a lot harder. So like on the same point, if people listening at home find that certain secondaries work better for them, please message the show, message Rick, and let him know because
Yeah.
the game is ever changing.
Another reason why it's great. Like,
Mm.
all right, let's jump into some other lists.
Yep.
Let's see if let's see you break these down. So we have here we have so these are all 2,000 point lists, by the way.
Hmm.
So we have a captain jump pack, Xeno Phase Blade, Anvil of Strength with the Master Crafted Weapon. So they are now like, I think they're Strength 9 with this build, 2 damage. Primaris Chaplain on Bike with the Beacon and Angelus, the +2 to charge Litany, and then the +1 to wound in melee.
Yep. Nice.
Litany. You got pretty bog standard Primaris Librarian here with the Tome of Ectoclates. Here's that same Indomitor kill team that you rock. And then it's 3 Proteus kill teams that are exactly the same. So 5 Terminators, and 5 vets. You got those Storm Shield vets in there, and then you've got the Vanguard vet for fallback and shoot, and then 4 Terminators with 3 having Cyclone missile launchers, and then it's a Primaris Apothecary with all those goodies, and then you have some company veterans.
Yeah, man. This is
So,
great. I really like it. Um,
so what do you think the strengths are? What do you think the weaknesses are?
so the Terminator teams are really cool. It looks like has he paid for the teleport Homer? It doesn't look like he has. Um, yeah, I was going to say if you run the teleport Homer in these units, it opens up a bit of tech where a Terminator can jump. If at certain points of the game back home to your deployment zone. So it's really nice to drop something forward, shoot, and then get out. I really like the ability with these units with Terminators to have that Cyclone unit sit back and pepper out. It adds a really nice threat where you can just start shooting and that unit's so hard to kill. It also allows you to, in certain situations, break off one of the Terminators to go with the 4 other veterans. So you have like a 0 up save and cover if you need it on the Terminator. And the Terminators are a really, really nice unit to pick up with the Chief Apothecary if you need it. So yeah, I think this is a great list. It goes a bit more on the expensive side on the Proteus teams, cutting a bit of mobility, but yeah, this is a brick. This is this is a brick of a list. I like it. The company vets are a bit of cool tech to stop the characters being shot, and for little action monkeys if they need to. So that's kind of cool. And the cool thing with the company vets is if they've got was it Mantle of Shadows, you can actually screen the vets, so people can't shoot the vets and thereby can never get a shot at the characters. So there's some really
It's
cool tech pieces you can do there.
like double
I
layered.
noticed, yeah, yeah. I noticed as well that on the Librarian they've taken Severance, which is a really interesting power. It does directed mortal wounds, and if you roll above leadership, turns off auras. So really cool into Harlequins, really cool into Rights of War Space Marines, because you've as a Deathwatch player, all your troops are OBSEC, but your friend the Ultramarines player can make all his OBSEC too with Rights of War. Well, look, I'm turning it off, or turning off other banners and things like that. Turning off other apothecary is really handy. The chappie with the beacon is a really nice candidate to hold the beacon because the chappie can move 20 inches, and if you need to beacon something with the chaplain, you can just pop the +2 advance of charge litany so you get a charge in. And the captain is, it's similar to the way I've run it actually. But instead of Imperium sword, they've got Anvil of Strength. So it's actually quite similar. It's Imperium sword versus Anvil of Strength. The trade-off is the Anvil of Strength, you go to strength 7 on the Xeno phase. And with Imperium Sword, you're only strength 6, but you get an extra attack and reroll failed charges. So they're quite similar. It just depends, do you want the extra attack and reroll charges, or is strength 7 really important for you? So I really like it. It's great. I'd probably look at getting 5 in infiltrators in there, but otherwise, chef's kiss, mate. Chef's kiss.
So this is my list.
It's great, dude.
I love Terminators. Like they're actually
Yeah.
one of the things that um like I play Dawn of War as well, and I love just dropping Terminators and Dreads like from orbit or in the game, and I just love iconic like walking tanks. So when I saw that Deathwatch can take OBSEC Terminators, you can screen them out with one storm. Like one of them has a storm shield, so like you said, if you plop that unit in cover, they're ignoring AP2.
Mhm.
Like it's it's really fun. And then the missile launchers are just, they're so versatile
How
because
good
you,
are they into blast? Like 36 shots into blast.
yeah, that's why I'm saying like they're like against Necron blobs, you're killing a lot of Necrons every turn, right? Because even though they get to reroll their animation every time a unit fires, there's still potentially two more of them,
Yeah.
like firing
Um,
another 36 shots or
yeah.
whatever.
And
So
they can't keep surviving from that. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you find like have you played many practice games with the list?
I've only played like two or three. The problem is I
That's cool.
keep adjusting everything, right? Like
Yeah.
I have so many Deathwatch models now because one of the reasons I love it is it's so flexible. You can do so much stuff.
Yeah.
Like I have, I have 15 Vanguard vets. I have probably 20 Terminators. I have 20 or 30 veterans. I've got a Corvus. I've got a ton of stuff just because and I've got HQs out the wazoo. Like I
You might
love
find that
this army.
yeah, I was going to say you might find that you only need one of those Terminator units with the Cyclones, and you might find that you want a bit more, maneuverability to move around and get into other board
Yeah.
quarters. Because man, like obviously 9 Cyclones is amazing,
Yeah.
but if your opponent sits behind walls, then that's 1,000 points doing nothing.
Right.
So I like it. I like the build, but you might find as you play it more that you want a bit more motion in the army.
So
But yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, you're right.
My next iteration of this, I actually turned one of the Terminator teams into basically just a melee bomb.
Yeah, nice.
So I dropped a Van Vet for a biker, and then I threw in a lot of like uh, Thunder Hammers, and I would combat squad, and then uh, I would deep strike them.
Yeah.
I haven't taken the teleport Homer because to me, and I'm totally open to have my mind changed. It's like the how guerrilla tactics is now. You got to take them off the board at the end of your movements phase, say turn 3, right?
Yep.
And then you can't bring them back until the end of the movement phase, turn 4. So that's a
Yep.
whole turn where they're not shooting, they're not charging. I guess they can score something, which is nice, because the movement phase is after the command phase. But then, yeah, I don't know. I thought that like losing a turn would hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it can. I mean, there's some times where you'll probably want to keep the pressure on and you don't want to take your foot off the gas and just push into your opponent's zone. Like, there's some
mhm,
games where you want that. But having the utility, like, if you've hit something really hard, if you've, pushed into your opponent's zone, you've stopped them getting primary for 2 or 3 turns and really applied the pressure, but you realize there's like a tipping point and you realize that, oh wow, in the next turn I'm really going to lose 7 8 9 models.
mhm.
You can make the call to just get out of there and then have models on the board turn 5 to retaliate to your opponent moving forward again. So I think have a play with it, man. I've definitely tried a few of the Terminators, and one of the other Australian players that plays Deathwatch down in Victoria, Jeremy Martino, really rates the teleport homers, and we were talking a bit about it at one of the events we played at, and it's a cool bit of tech. It takes a bit of getting used to that. Like, oh, half my army's off the board. It's also
Well,
nice if like your
Grey
army
Knights,
is.
so
Oh yeah,
I'm used to I'm used to having like almost nothing on the board turn 1. So
yeah, and it's interesting because it adds that little bit of extra ability for you to jump around, and so you can do an aggressive beacon turn 2 or 3, push in right in, and then when you realize that their whole army is turned to manage this big threat, then you get out of there and they're fully out of position. So
that's a great point there. Yeah, I
yeah,
hadn't
have a
thought of it
think
that
about
way.
it because
Yeah,
it can really affect the pace of the game. It may not be good in the next few months leading up to the other armies that are good. But yeah, that's probably what I'd critique and add in. Maybe add the teleport homers, maybe trim one of the Terminator teams into a more mobile team, be it a
yeah,
Vanguard vet team or a biker team. But yeah, man, it's a really solid base of a list. I like
yeah.
it.
I will point out to all of our eagle-eyed viewers that yes, this is an old list. These are when plasma in inceptors were only 50 points. So I haven't played with this style of list in quite a while, but we'll get to the future of Deathwatch later. So let's jump straight into the next one here. So this is a patrol and a Vanguard. If you'll notice, there's one Corvus Blackstar, two
Man,
Corvus Blackstars,
ooh,
three Corvus Blackstars,
jeez.
uh, lots of dreads, 5 of them.
Hmm. Yep.
You've got a captain with the Rights of War and Dominus Aegis, and then you have a Primaris Tech Marine with the Master of the Forge, an adept of the the codex to regen command points, but then also nowhere to hide. And every Corvus also has the Auspex array. So what do you think of this list?
Can I see the Proteus team loadouts again?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, and frag cannons, which I thought was super cool.
This is cool, man. It's interesting. It looks like you have the ability to put the vets in the Corvus and move around a bit. I think three Black Stars. Like, I love a Corvus Black Star. I think three Black Stars is quite heavy because they do die. Like, they will go down. Um, the dreadnought element of this list is kind of tried and tested and quite strong under a Dominus Aegis with the apothecary, oh not the apothecary, with the tech marine, with the captain, giving them rights of war, and then the 5-up invo and stuff.
Yeah,
That's solid
and
as
3 wounds healed every round from the tech marine is
yeah,
minus
really
1
solid.
damage from every
The tech marine is pretty nice as well because you can turn 1 if there's no targets. You can actually buff the Corvus to hit on 2s and fly it off, and it's a really cool bit of tech that some players might start using. I I think if you cut 2 Corvuses out, you could get a bit more of a resilient screen for these dreadnoughts because obviously the dreadnoughts know how to fight, like they can punch themselves out of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think you want you don't want 5 dreadnoughts getting caught up with like 100 poxwalkers.
Sure.
So I think
the
having
poxwalkers have to
something-
get over there. So
yeah, the poxwalkers.
yeah. So allow me to explain the way that this person uses that list. So the HQs stay in the backfield with the dreads, which you clearly like figured out. Each Corvus gets 1 of these squads, and then the whole army, until the squads are dropped out of the Corvuses, ignores cover.
Yep.
Because you've got the Auspex array on all of the Corvuses, the Corvi, and then you have the nowhere to hide from the Tech Marine, which affects all core units, which includes all the dreadnoughts. So effectively, like, you are just taking away, it's almost like adding an AP, right?
Yeah.
To your whole army all the time.
Yeah.
Then
there is literally nowhere to hide from this army because you can hide behind a wall from the dreadnoughts, and then 3 Corvuses will fly right over you, right?
Right. Yeah, and just bomb you. Yeah. So then what this does is it uses our doctrine flexibility. So turn 1, you pop assault or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably tactical. Then turn 2, like, you are in control of the Devastator doctrine.
Yeah.
The entire army on turn 2, unless you've dropped out your Proteus teams, is firing heavy weapons. So turn 2, maybe turn 3 if they're like still screening really well or they're like still hiding. Turn 2 or turn 3, you pop Devastator and you just like blow away a ton of the opposition. So this is Nevin Smith's list that he took to Motor City Mayhem back in April. He scored 97 points against the Death Guard turn 1, and then he by the end of turn 2, he had Brad Chester and the broken Drukari on the back foot. Like the event organizers actually said, like, we're amazed you didn't win that game, because at the end of turn 2 he had every advantage. And in my interview with Nevin, which isn't up yet, I'm still editing it, he's explaining that, like, he attributes that loss to him not understanding the Jakari book, because the book was only like 2 weeks old at that point, and even though he'd played like 25 or 30, I think he says, practice games with this list, he'd only lost like 2 or 3 times, by the way, against all types of armies. He attributes that loss to just not knowing what Drakari could do and how complicated that book is. Because, like, I guess at one point the TOs are like, hey, Brad, you gotta put out, like, cards saying what all of these things do. Because nobody can keep track of, like, what buffs are on what units. Because that's, like, that book with the combat drugs and everything are just so, like, it's
deep,
complex that it's hard to watch as well, because you're like, well, which raider has which HQs in it? Like, where's Drazar, right? Like, that's not a game you want to play you want to know where, right? But
Yeah. That's sick, dude. That's awesome that you did that. And you can see like how much firepower this thing has, and
yeah,
if there are targets available, it will pick it up. And those man, if this list goes first, those Corvuses are going to tear up. Um, the one thing I see though is similar to all marine factions, we only have one turn of Devastator Doctrine.
right.
So this list kind of has one turn to just go. um, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's really cool. I haven't seen a list with 3 Corvuses before. That's
right.
lovely.
That's why, like, the Deathwatch Discord, this guy messages me like, "Hey, you should interview Nevin Smith," and I'm like, "Well, why?" And he's like, "That dude's got 3 Corvuses." Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm in. Like,
How do you go for
gotta
the
talk.
rest of the event?
I think I can bring it up if you want.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
that was
have
sick,
it.
man.
I don't have it super handy right now,
Oh,
but
that's all right.
let me see if I can.
That's okay.
Maybe I got lucky and picked the. Yep. Nope, that's the Atlantic City Open. So it's the other one. There we go. All right. Motor City Mayhem. Let me switch to my web browser here and then change to the West Coast pairings. So he went. I think he only came in 34th, but he got 90s or so 3-2. He lost to Drakari, and then I don't remember what his 4th round matchup
That's all right.
was right now.
Because like looking at this from the lens of a teams list, this is a great teams list.
Oh, really?
Like I'd probably take it to teams, yeah, because like it's just got so much threat that no one would want to pair into it,
Yeah.
knowing that they might go second.
And
I like
and
even yeah.
oh, uh, one. I didn't mean to
No, you're right. You're right. I was just gonna
cut you
say,
off.
you don't want to pair into that actively, so it's gonna mess around the opponent's team so much. So this is, man, I might have to go and buy 2 more Corvuses.
It's a cool list. So he says that what it like really does well, is it goes against, so especially from a team's event thing, right? I was listening to Adam Camilleri on, I think it was Frontline Gaming, I can't remember, but they were talking about an Australian team event that he went to, and he brought Dark Angels. And
Yep.
he's like, with the Dark Angel, and this was before their secondaries were nerfed. But he's like, I just march up the board.
That's the wind.
I get my 80 to 90 points guaranteed. They can't move me. And he was explaining that this list trounces on Death Guard, on Dark Angels, because it has so much mobility and get everywhere. Like, unless you're really good at screening out your characters and stuff, they can effectively ignore Lookout Sir. I mean, not in actuality, but they, if you've got them, if you're just following your Terminator blob with an apothecary, he's gone.
Yeah.
Like,
You just pick it up.
yeah. So I thought that was really cool, and
Dude,
again,
that's great.
the
And
Corvuses. So
we actually that exact team event that Adam was talking about, we were there as well. It was great.
oh,
We
cool.
actually played Adam's team. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. See, so he probably scored 80 points against you and walked away.
We got our Drakari player in team, so it wasn't that bad for us. He still played a
Oh,
good game.
yeah. I think this was. I don't know. I listened to so much Warhammer stuff. I think this was before
Yeah.
the Drakari Codex came out. But
Oh,
it might
maybe it
have
was a
been
different
after.
one.
I don't know. It sounds like he plays a lot of team games too. So
He loves it, man. Yeah.
all right. So here's the last list that we're gonna go over. But before, I would like to start to talk about where we see Deathwatch going. So this is a captain, a chaplain, a tech marine, a Fortis kill team with the assault Hellblasters and the assault auto bolt rifles. You got 2 Proteus kill teams, one that's kind of shooty and one that's really cheap fighty. And then 2 Redemptors, 2 Relic Contemptors, because why wouldn't you? And then 2 Corvuses. So what do you think?
Same thing. I'll just have a look at the veteran loadout just to be.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So we've got the Fortis team, and that's got the Hellblasters.
Yeah.
And we've got the Vulcan as well. That's really nice.
And then one thing I saw was that they put the Aquila team on the Hellblasters, which is arguably our only good specialism.
Yeah. We don't have the Dominus Aegis here, or do we?
We do. It's here.
Okay.
And then the relics are the Auspicator, the Tome, and the Dominus Aegis. I think that's it. I don't think there are any other characters in here. Nope. That's it.
Excuse me.
And then some veterans to, I assume, do action stuff, but
This is like an in between list, isn't it? Of a classic Deathwatch list, and then the Neville's one that we just looked at. This one's pretty well loaded with a few more relics. Like getting the Tome in there is nice. Getting the Vulcan in there is nice. Do we have nowhere to hide in this one? Yeah, we do. Sweet. Yeah, it's on the captain.
and
yeah, dude said vigilance. Yeah.
So yeah,
nice. So look, this is solid. I'm still like same as the 3 Corvus list. I'm kind of questioning in a singles environment whether more than 1 Corvus is viable, just because it's hard to keep it safe. But the same Dreadnought lines there. Obviously, the Relic Contemptors are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm really interested to see how the Infernum bolters go with the combination bolter and flamer. Like they're obviously quite good into what's strong now. They're super expensive on a body that doesn't have
it's
a storm
15
shield.
points. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so if we look at that unit, it's five veterans.
Yeah.
That is 165 points. So it's pushing it's pushing a lot of points, and there's only 2 storm shields in there.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 ablative wounds before you get to them, and that's always what's moved me away from the frag cannons and the infernuses. And especially now the frag cannons don't auto hit. That was beautiful when they did. Yeah, but look, I think
the heavy flamer on these do.
Yeah, it's nice, and you've got the ability with the chaplain to get +1 to wound and stuff. You've got the tome to pop on the key turn. It's nice. I think it might just need a bit more. Like it's kind of like 1 foot in each camp. Like it's got the dreads, it's got the planes, it's got the infantry, but it could probably do better of both. Just stepping into whichever lane it wanted to. Like if you want to go the full mech, go the full mech, or if you want to go the full infantry, go the full infantry.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's got the company vets as well, so it's nice to keep everything safe. But yeah, it's a solid list. I'm keen to see how these Hellblasters go, man. I think they're a cool pick.
Yeah. So this is another list I made. It was after I talked to Nevin, and I kind of just included a little bit of everything that we talked about. So it's got the Corvuses and the Dreadnoughts and the Hellblasters and the Infernus Heavy Bolter. I really like this list. I would like to play it. I also don't really think that the Infernus Heavy Bolters are doing a whole lot in here. I would probably try to squeeze in some points for some Vanguard vets or something.
Swap them out for
somewhere.
Combi Flamers, and then you get special ammo as well. Like Combi Flamers plus them is pretty sick.
Yeah. So
yeah.
My thought was the 2 Corvuses drop off the 2 Proteus teams, maybe the company vets. The Hellblasters would be in Deep Strike because we can do that for 1 CP. The problem then is after the relics and the relic contemptors and putting the Fortis kill team,
you have like no CP, right?
And the extra warlord traits, I'm down to like 5 CP or something. It's real sad. But honestly, with all the like rerolls and stuff, I was kind of thinking that really what I'm gonna be using those points for is effectively just Brotherhood of, like, those command points are gonna be particularly for Brotherhood of Veterans.
Transhuman.
Transhuman. If I ever need a really I need this unit to live through this turn. and then an occasional reroll. But having played both Grey Knights and Deathwatch, I have noticed that like there are turns where if I start with like 7 CP, I don't really use a whole lot of CP. When I do, I need them very badly. But like my Grey Knights are turn 2 and 3, I better have nothing left. Like you're supposed to have no CP left. It's like
Yeah.
you start with 11 and then you spend them all. Like you just throwing
You know
out
what's
CP.
really what's really sad, Rick, is that if we, in this exact list, if we changed a few relics around, if we took the Proteus teams out, let's say if we took the Hellblaster team out and just put 10 Hellblasters in, if we took the Proteus teams out and put 2 Deathwing command squads in, and if we took the
Oh
Thanes
no.
out and put 2 Dark Talons in, this is like a top tier Dark Angels list.
Man, don't tell me
It
that.
sucks. It sucks, doesn't it? Because like the Dark Talons do a little bit more than the Corvus.
Yeah,
The 10 Hellblasters as Dark Angels are
with
off their chop. They
with
kill on average.
yeah, because
On average, they kill 5 Raiders.
yeah,
5 Raiders
overcharged
from 10 guys.
overcharged this Fortis kill team or those Hellblasters or I'm sorry, Hellblasters in general, assault ones, overcharged, rerolling ones to hit, 3 shots, strength 4, or I'm sorry, strength 8 minus 4 AP are now 3 damage for 1 CP from what is this? Yeah, weapons of the Dark Age. Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't disagree that obviously they're better in Dark Angels, but what I think, and this is moving into like where I'd like to see some play in the Dark Watch meta or Dark Watch. The
Look what I made you say.
right, yeah, it's the Dark Watch list. Where I'd like to see them move, or like potentially where I see play, is the Assault Hellblasters, particularly in Deathwatch, are good because they have those ablative wounds right in front of them, and they're obsec. Like, and I think they're for 33 points in a non-Deathwatch army, they don't have any ablative wounds. They're expensive compared to an intercessor. Obviously, they have a very good gun, but they're also firing a lot. I mean, that's 15 strength 8 minus 4 1 to 2 damage. Like if you're firing into warriors, don't overcharge, obviously, right? But like strength 6, you're still gonna wound like, or I'm sorry, they aren't strength 8. They're strength 6 and they're strength 7 if overcharged. Yep. But anyway, like
just have a chaplain nearby. You're +1 to wound the closest. You're good.
You mean like
that one? That
like
you
this
said
one?
earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is the captain would probably, it depends on the matchup, but the captain would drop down with the Hellblasters for the rerolls. The problem with that is then you don't have the Dominus Aegis on the Dreadnoughts, which sucks. I mean,
I think you need the captain with the dreads because it gives so much.
Yeah, but then without rerolling ones for the Hellblasters, if you overcharge, right, like toughness or strength 7 overcharged with the 3 shots each is like perfect for popping rhinos, because now you're gonna wound on 4s, not 5s, which is immense. And then obviously against raiders, now you're gonna wound on 3s, not 4s. So like you want them to be overcharging, but you can't really overcharge them. I think this goes to your point where this is, this has too many. It's trying to do too much. It's not focusing enough. I'd put this.
And look, Rick, I am the guy that constantly makes this list that tries to do everything, and it just turns out bad. So I know exactly what this, what that feels like.
I mean, to be clear though, like I made this as a fun list to go try out. I never once thought that this was like going to win, a GT or whatever. Because I mean, I can already tell you, I want the Dominus Aegis with the Redemptors or with all the Dreadnoughts, but I want the captain who has it with the Hellblasters. So already we're not. It's not. There's no real or there's no total synergy there.
It's like the list wants two fire bases, right? Like it's got the Dreadnought fire base, and then it's got the Hellblaster fire base, and it wants to try
Right.
and balance the two, and then you're just not going to have the board space to do that.
Yeah. So, I'm also playing with another list that brings two of the Hellblaster teams, only two Dreadnoughts, not four, which also opens up some more command points to do what they do. But yes, I just wanted to see what you thought. Yeah. I really kind of think the Infernus heavy bolters are also kind of a sleeper pick, but you're right where they are very expensive. Like that's a
Like
35
three,
point model now. That's
yeah,
that's more
three of
than
them are two more veterans.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like that's also more than a Hellblaster at 33 points each.
yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
it's hard to justify, but I just want to run them. So
yeah. They look sick.
yeah, where do you you mentioned earlier shotguns, so let's talk about shotguns.
Yeah, so I was actually put onto shotguns. We finished a team event over the weekend. I was talking to you may have heard of him, Eric Lathuris, who's one of the Australian Art of War players. Really good player. He's a Team Australia player for WTC. He's the captain of the Australian team, and he said, "Man, have a look at Deathwatch. Have a look at shotguns." And that was the same weekend that I think it's Jack Harpster went 5-1 with Deathwatch,
Yeah,
and he had a whole heap of shotguns. So
11th
um,
at a major
yeah,
GT, like
incredible, right?
with
So
an army that everyone thinks is garbage.
yeah, so I think shotguns have a lot going for them. One of the biggest things they have going for them is that they're free.
Yes.
You can keep your veterans nice and cheap at 20 points,
Mm-hmm.
and this interesting weapon profile. And so you've got three profiles. You've got an 18-inch range, two shot, strength 5, no neg 1 damage, which is pretty much like a strength 5 bolter. They're all assault profiles, by the way, which is really
Right.
nice. It's got a 12-inch, pretty much a mastercrafted bolter profile, so assault 2, but strength 4, neg 1, 2 damage. No, none of these can be special ammoed. If you could,
Yeah,
that'd be wild.
that would
It'd be
be
wild.
that would be auto take for sure if these were
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
could special
Um,
issue these.
Yeah, but the coolest is actually the flamer profile. I think is only 8-inch range, which good and bad. But 8-inch range, strength 4, no neg, D6 shots, auto hitting. So
Mm-hmm.
the immediate thing I see here, well, one of the things you have to look at is when a Deathwatch veteran takes a shotgun, unless it's the sergeant, it can't take any other war gear, so it can't take a storm shield. So that's another kind of downside to holding the shotgun is you've
Right.
got a 3-up save, no invo model versus 2-up save, 4-up invo. So it's the opportunity cost of taking that shotgun. So whenever I look at it, I'm comparing it to a bolter, a Deathwatch bolt gun with special issue ammo. So what does it do that a bolter doesn't? It's got auto hits in Overwatch, which is great, but only 8-inch range. It's got reasonable 2 damage shots at 12 inches, but Deathwatch bolters have reasonable 2 damage shots at 24 inches. It's got strength 5 access, where the Deathwatch bolt gun has +1 to wound. So already it's quite similar. But then you start looking at, the strength 5 shot has 2 shots at 18, when the bolt gun can't have 2 shots at 18. So if you're looking at, no need for AP. If you just want to push strength 5, it's a really cool profile to sit back nice and safe at 18, which is usually, that's a 6-inch move and a 12-inch charge if you can't advance and charge or you can't get bonuses to move. So 18 is a fairly safe spot to be against a Marine profile that doesn't have a jump pack. So you can sit back, pepper down, strength 5, and do a bit of damage with your guys in the backfield that are doing nothing. Having the ability to overwatch with that flamer when stuff is close by is really nice. But then you combine, this profile that we just talked about with tactical doctrine on demand, which you have 3 of,
Yeah.
and then you combine that with nowhere to hide, and things, the magic starts ticking over because then you can have a quantity of vets that are ignoring cover with neg 1 AP or neg 2 AP, which is quite nice. So I think it's a really interesting choice. look at the shotgun and I immediately go, nah, never heard of it. It's bad. But people are doing well with it. I've been recommended, by a pretty good player about the shotgun. So I really need to practice it. And probably in the next week I'm gonna play a game or two with them, man. But I think they're gonna have some good answers for, strength 5 shooting, for killing toughness 3. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what they do.
All right, we're back. Technical difficulties fixed. So we were talking about shotguns and how they are amazing. I currently have the profile for them actually up on my window here. So yeah, 18-inch assault 2, like you said, so that toughness or strength 5 to bust through that, like toughness 4. Assault means you can advance and shoot, which gives them extra mobility, and they're all gonna be obsec, so even towing in on an objective could potentially help, turn the tide there, and they can still shoot, which is nice. Yeah, I was really stoked to see Jack Harpster do so well and show such a great result with these with well, like, first of all, Deathwatch, where if you read anything online, we're the worst Space Marine faction. But then he came in 11th. I think he was he the no, he was the second top Space Marine after Black Templars, I believe. And I closed that window, so I'm not gonna mess with OBS anymore. But I believe that's true. It was like Black Templars were like second or third, and then he came in 11th. There were 5 Drukhari in the top 8, of course, because they were pre-nerf. But yeah, man, it was cool to see. So there's got to be some magic there that I'm just not good enough to really see yet.
Yeah, I'm really keen to test it. I think it'll be cool.
So, yeah, I guess I wanted to, well, let's just talk this through, because this is pretty much like a podcast anyway.
Yeah.
I will fix this later so that folks can actually watch. So if you were going to, I've got Battle Scribe up now. I've created a 2,000 point Deathwatch battalion framework, and we don't have to do the battalion. It's just the most common. So how would you start? So are we going to start with a captain?
We're going pure Deathwatch.
Yeah. So that way we keep our doctrine switching, because that's what we lose, right? If we it's not the battlefield role thing. It's the
it's just the doctrine switching.
Yeah. Okay.
So look, I like the captain. I like the captain with the Xenophase Blade, the jump pack, the Storm Shield. I like him with Imperium Sword and Mastercrafter Weapon with Castellan. I think that's a nice little tool to have, especially now when we've got all these succubuses running around. I think that's really important to have. I like the Jump Librarian because I think we've got one of the most potent psychic trees of all the Space Marines. I think what we bring is pretty strong. I
agree. Or the Xeno Purge discipline has so many when the supplement first came out, Nick Nenavati's lists, his like first few were running
like 2 or 3 libbies, right?
two librarians, because it's like these are all so good. Like Mantle of Shadow and Neural Void and Primorphic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt and Sanctuary. The only ones that aren't good are our Witch Bolt ones, because I don't think any of the Witch Bolt ones anywhere are very good. Because you can just smite, like, who cares? But I mean, everything else is like money. There are really no bad picks if the rest of your list actually supports what you're trying to do. So
I definitely tried a couple of lists with 2 libbies, like one buffing libby, one debuffing libby, and the issue is like you just lose too many veterans. You just can't afford to have that. So I like a librarian with Mantle of Shadows as like my base power. I would pick one of Premorphic Resonance and he'd be a Chief Librarian, so knows 3.
Yep.
One of
Got it.
Premorphic Resonance,
And
or Fortify, one of them.
uh-huh.
And the third one I'd probably pick now is actually Neural Void, because I
Really?
think if a big brick of Grotesques or Talos come at you, Neural Void just allows them. Well, it immediately drops their attacks by 1.
Yeah. Which
So
is nice.
or same thing. Yeah, same thing with a big Sisters unit or a big Admech unit that's slowly walking towards you. You know, it reduces their attacks by 1, and it also means they can only charge the closest. So that's quite nice. So I think those two as base characters. I think the Apothecary, unfortunately, is out.
Yeah. None of
But
the lists I've been making lately have had one, but
yeah, yeah.
it
I've
is the way it
actually,
is.
yeah, I
um
still think an Indomitor team is nice. So like the captain who's got the Castel and the Black Vault for 2 damage, if he has the Dominus Aegis, I think an Indomitor team is nice. I actually like the heavy Hellblasters, man.
So that's a great point. With eliminators being cheaper now and the Las Fusil being so like I know you like your infiltrators, so let's throw in a Spectrus kill team straight
Yep, there'll be
away.
a Spectrus in there with the Helix Gauntlet. So what's that?
Yeah.
130 points.
So but counterpoint to the heavy Hellblasters, and I've only played one game with them now. Um I didn't find them that good, and then because you never want them to move, they only have a squad of 5, only has 5 shots, right? They're 2 damage base, strength 8, which is very good. So overcharge their strength 9, 3 damage. My problem with them was they just weren't reliable. And so, like, the next week, Eliminators got buffed, where they came down in points. So now, an Eliminator with a Las Fusel is only 35 points. They're hitting on 2s. They have the camo cloak, and because of the way that we can be goofy with our combat squatting, we can also give them Omni Scramblers. So, like, to
So
me,
there's
you've still only got 1 shot. They're still heavy. The Las Fusil is rocking.
the Eradicators get total obliteration though, don't they?
Oh,
Like
I'm sorry.
they double tap, yeah,
You meant
and their minimum
Eradicators.
damage.
I thought you
Yeah, yeah.
meant.
Sorry, my
I
Eradicator.
thought you meant Hellblasters. Did you
No,
say
no, no. The
Hellblasters?
Eradicator.
Whatever.
I said the heavy Eradicators. Yeah.
Oh, got you. Okay, then I
I
am
think the
way. I'm way off
Hellblaster's
base
gun is
here.
called like a plasma eradicator, so it sounds the same thing.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so the
Sorry.
heavy, that's right, man. The heavy, heavy eradicators are really interesting because you have like 5 of them will have 10 shots if the whole unit shoots the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
At minimum damage 3, so it's D6 plus 2 damage, and if you're within half a range, it's D6 plus 4.
Yeah.
So you're throwing minimum 5 damage out, and you've got ways to mitigate the move and shoot for a heavy weapon. So you've got stuff like, the strat to make the max stationary. You've got the Vorken to, get +1 hit against fly, things like that, things in that ilk.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how a squad of the 5 heavy Rads goes with 5 of the heavy
The
heavy bolters,
heavy
whatever you call it.
intercessors. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
with like the damage 2 bolters.
so we get an
So I,
Indomitor kill team in here.
yeah, or even you know what, you could just ignore those heavy bolters, man, and just go the assault ones because the assault ones are such money when they're 3 shots each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. I was just thinking, like, I guess then they can still shoot even if you have to advance. All right, so 5 eradicators with the heavy melta rifle. We can actually add one with a multi melta instead.
Yeah,
if you think...
flick one with a multi-melter in there. It's 2
Okay.
more shots. It's like double shots, so may as well.
Great. So we're looking at 395 points just for that unit.
That's the money, mate.
And if you're gonna put that much into there, might I recommend the Aquila specialism? Because if your whole army is gonna shoot against troops, but you want them firing against heavier stuff or elites or whatever, it's 15 points. I don't know.
Yeah, we could squeeze that in there. I
All right.
mean,
Well,
I'm
let's.
I'm not a huge yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but yeah, let's pop it in there
Well,
because it could be nice in the Drakari matchup.
let's throw it in there for now, and then if we're really short on points, we can. That'll be
Yeah,
the
trim it.
very first thing we drop. Speaking of which, the librarian with or without a jump pack. I assumed with,
Oh,
and I put it
definitely,
in. Okay,
definitely with,
cool.
definitely with. Yeah.
So
So let's
then,
put the let's give him the beacon
oh, the beacon.
and just
Okay.
yeah, let's give him the beacon.
All right. I had given him the auspicicator, but
We'll find someone else for the auspicator.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So then, what are we looking at?
So let's get a
I mean,
veteran kill team after that. Sorry.
troops are our money spot. So yeah, let's do
Yeah,
a
yeah. Let's
Proteus
get a
kill
Proteus
team.
team.
Okay.
On the
Um,
sergeant, let's get a combat shield and a shotgun.
combat shield or
And a
storm shield?
shotgun, yeah. I can't, he can only take a combat
Oh,
shield with the
that's
shotgun.
right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Shotgun. I don't even see.
It's like a take one or a shield option or something
There it
with the
is.
combat
Got
shield.
it. Okay. Cool. And then everything
And,
else would have shotguns.
just 4 shotgun vets.
Right. All right. Got it.
Yep. And then let's go 2 claw and shield vanguard vets with jump back.
And then 3 with double, or 3 with storm
Oh no,
shields,
I was
lightning
gonna go
claw.
three veteran bikers with
Oh,
chainswords. Yeah.
oh yeah, because the van vets give them the ability to go through walls and stuff. So that's a
Yeah.
good
So you
point.
got 2 vanguard vets that can do actions and put up banners and stuff, and then three bikers, which makes the unit toughness 5, and you can put wounds on whatever you want. So it's kind of like 8th edition Deathwatch, where you can kind of allocate wounds on that unit. It's kind
Yep.
of nice.
All
And
right,
of
I've
course, it's obsec. Yeah.
added jump packs. We'll add chain swords to the bikers. Looks good. 238 points, but you're gonna be
Yeah,
splitting them up.
that's nice and cheap,
Oh,
man. So let's get 2 of those units.
so you want storm shield and lightning claws, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, got it. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so you're at 254, and we're gonna duplicate
Yeah,
that.
let's
Great.
duplicate that.
Done.
What are we sitting at the moment?
1318.
Okay, we've got a bit of room to move.
Yeah.
1318. Let's find a cheap character to put the Vulcan on.
Okay. I mean, so hmm. What I used to do when
What?
I first started making these lists is I take the company champion and I give him the Dominus Aegis.
Would this
And then
list
we could
benefit
put.
from the banner, like the shoot on death banner? Probably not. We only really have 1 unit to do it on. Um,
Oh, is that the ancient?
it's the company banner. Yeah, the company ancient. This probably doesn't benefit enough from the ancient.
Well,
Um,
let's see. So standard of the Emperor Ascendant. No, that's reroll morale.
oh, you don't even need a relic. It's just the basic chapter banner or the
Oh, it
company
is.
banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's shoot on death. Let's stick a whirlwind in there with a Castellan launcher because I think that's a good meta pick at the moment.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a cool pick. Because
yeah,
that way you're doing fight last
yeah. Because
on
the change
something.
to fight last is really nice. Because if you make something fight last and it charges you, then it becomes a fight normal, and the non-active player, so like the player that didn't charge, fights first there.
Yeah.
So
So would you
means you don't
do?
have to do the double. Yeah. So just with
Uh,
the Castellan launcher.
okay. I was gonna say Vengeance or Castellan, but you were miles uh, ahead of me. So
Yeah. So the whirlwind's not core, but because it's Deathwatch, it gets mission tactics, or not mission tactics, but
yeah, and
reroll ones to
it's
wound against stuff. So,
125 points. That's not
yeah.
that bad. What do
So
you
we're
think?
sitting at around 500 now, aren't we?
We're at 1443. What do you think about a Redemptor or two, or is that
Like,
um
so this is the way we could go now. We could add 2 Redemptors
mhm,
because that would kind
that's
of take us to around the 1750 mark.
yeah,
And then I've got a
just
bit of
yeah.
tech for the last 250 points. Or we could go more kill teams, like kind of like
Mhm.
Jack had when he had 3 or 4 of those shotgun teams. So
So
I
I'm
think,
torn. I love infantry lists.
yeah,
So let's go. Let's get another one of those Proteus teams. with the bikes.
You know what? Actually,
What's up?
let's spitball here.
Okay.
Let's get 2 Redemptors in there with plasma,
Okay.
because then we can get a Tech Marine to hold the Vulcan. That helps.
Okay. I see where you're going. All right. Well, let's get the. All right. Man, I feel so fast on this usually, but when I'm like on the back foot right now. Redemptor Dreads. Bam. Bam.
Let's give him the Icarus autocannon. Let's
Yeah.
give him the
Oh,
the pla-
the Onslaught and the Macro Accelerator. We could
yeah.
give him the
Let's keep it
Icarus
as
rocket pod if you want, but
yeah. Definitely give the Icarus rocket pod. I like
okay.
it.
Okay, and then we'll
Um,
duplicate that.
Tempted.
So we're at
I'd
1800.
probably want the plasma. Yeah, probably want the plasma.
I like the plasma too.
Yeah. All
And
right, so
then
we don't have a Corvus in there. I don't think this list needs a Corvus.
we're out of points for it right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So are
uh,
we at 1800 exactly?
so if I add on the Tech Marine, give him the Auspicator, and make him Master of the Forge, we're looking at 1913. And obviously, I need
Yeah.
to.
I don't know if I like the 2 Redemptors then.
It's
It's
just
hard,
too
isn't it?
much. Yeah. I mean, they are very strong. 13 wounds, -1 damage. Like, the problem is now you're trying to defend the Redemptors and
Yeah,
the
there's no
Indomitor
point.
team with the Dominus Aegis.
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll dump them out
Let's
then.
get the Redemptors and the Tech Marine out.
Okay. It's out. So we're back down to 1443.
1443.
Yeah.
Can you think of a good character to hold the Vulcan? Pattern Auspicator.
So the
Or do we
chaplain,
need it?
uh, chaplain on bike is very fast. Would give the +2 to charge aura to the bikers and the van vets if we needed it
Yep,
to.
sweet.
Um,
Let's go Chaplain on bike with Benediction of Fury. Oh no, we can't have Benediction of Fury.
well,
Chaplain on bike with the Vulcan. Oh,
so
with the beacon, and then we can move
yes,
the Vulcan onto the Libby.
I
Yep,
was gonna just say that. Yeah, let's get the.
nice.
I guess I don't have him saved to my favorites. Primaris chaplain on bike. Well, that's bad. All right, we'll give him Master of Sanctity. We'll give him the beacon, and we'll give this guy the auspicicator, and then we'll do the +2 to charge aura and the what you want +1 to wound. You
Let's
think?
go +1 to wound, man. Yeah, let's go +1 to wound.
Yeah. So again for melee, so that would be Exhortation of Rage. And then, so we're at 1583. If we throw in another Proteus kill team that matches the other ones, we're at 1837.
So we got about 170 points.
Yeah, and we'd have 3 of those Proteus kill teams with the guys with shotguns and the bikers and the van vets. And we still have that Spectrus kill team in the back.
Yeah.
And the Whirlwind, which is a.
So we've currently got
cool
45 vets, a Whirlwind. Okay. So I got something sick for you.
What's up?
3 Assault Centurions.
Ooh, because we can deep strike them.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. Are they?
Because we can also white scars them. If we keep them on the board and they can advance and charge and be annoying. And even though they're not core, they benefit from Xenos Hunters, so they can get rerolls, which is nice.
Yeah, so I can never remember. The assault ones
They are
elites.
elites. They're elites
Yeah.
slot. Yeah.
Centurion Assault Squad. Here we go. So we are. Do you want to give them Hurricane Bolters?
Just Hurricane Bolters and Flamers. Yeah, just the basic loadout.
Well, Hurricane Bolters cost a little more.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's worth it.
So we are at 2030. If we remove Aquila, we're still. Well, we were at 232. If we remove the Aquila specialism, we're at 2017 now.
How many points is a Whirlwind?
125. Right? Like
That's
where
the Whirlwind is so nice though in current meta. It's so nice.
I've played around with the Whirlwind thing too, and it's just I mean we could drop. No, you'd have to drop 2 off of the.
I like the 40 veterans. I really like the 40 veterans.
Yeah, I think this is
Because
a
the other
pretty
option
solid
is we
list.
can get the whirlwind out and grab an assassin. Like we can grab a Colexus assassin to sit in front of our lion, and when something charges us, you can pop the strat to fight last. That's the other tech piece for a fight last.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or we could,
Or
yeah,
a Judicar.
yeah, but
He's got
kind of
fight
bad.
last.
Like,
Are they? He's got fight last. Like
yeah, it's
it's
only for
not a.
one unit though.
Oh, is the
Yeah,
Colexus
it's
more than
one unit
one?
within three. The Colexus is all enemy units within 3 inches fight last.
Oh, damn.
So
Okay.
it's a
And he's
big
only
blanket.
15 points more. So
Yeah, so you can do stuff with the Colexus as well. Like you can mantle of shadow stuff behind the Colexus, and the Colexus only gets hit on a 6, so it's really easy to like to be annoying.
well, that's cool.
Um,
All
yeah,
right.
so some cool tech with assassins.
So now we have 8 points to go.
That looks pretty good. I don't know, stick an Inferno pistol on the Libby or something, and then we're good.
Nice. Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Do. Oh, can they also
'Cause
take a
that's the
pistol?
there's a couple of other things I want to test with Deathwatch. One of them is those assault Centurions. I have a feeling they could be good in like a unit of 3 or a unit of 5.
All right, Inferno pistol. We're at 1997 now.
Yeah, mate.
That's pretty awesome, actually. If we really wanted to, we could give a power sword to one of the bikers and be
Oh,
at
dude.
2,000 flat. But then you have to actually remember that one of them has a power sword.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's tricky right now building a list to tackle the stuff that's good in meta, because you got to look at like you got to kill transports, but then you also have to have the volume to clear like
What's
20 sisters or
yeah,
20,
like what?
20 Scutari.
Yeah, or what pops out of the
Yeah, the stuff
transports?
that comes out of the
Yeah,
fucking
like
transport.
if you pop the Rhino and then there are 9 Repentia in there, you still have to kill the Repentia.
And that's why the whirlwind is really nice, because it adds that little bit of like peppering out. So that's why like I kind of wanted to squeeze the whirlwind in.
Yeah, well, it's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah,
The,
but look, mate, if the assault intercessors are bad, we have heaps of points. So
you mean the guys with the
oh, sorry, the
shotguns?
assault. Sorry, not the assault intercessors. The
The
assault
assault Centurions. Yeah,
centurions.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if they're out, we have like nearly 200 points.
Yeah, it's 195 points for
Yeah,
for that squad.
perfect.
So
Yeah.
we would put them in deep strike for 1 CP, which leaves us with 8, which isn't bad. We could probably no, we can't because he's the chief librarian. We can't do it to the chaplain because he's a master of sanctity. I was trying to see if we could squeeze in another warlord trait for the CP regen, but I don't think we can. So
I don't think you need it.
especially for with 8 is actually a pretty good place to
Yeah,
be with
it's
Deathwatch.
fine.
So yeah, man.
But
Well,
if the assault sense are bad, we could swap something else in there. But yeah, I don't mind it.
cool. Yeah, looking great to me. Um, really want to play with those shotguns. They look really fun.
Yeah.
And then the
I'm
assaults
also
and Charians are a nice like if they actually get in. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
they have on the charge they have 4 attacks base plus 1 for the sergeant, so you're already looking at 13 attacks at strength 10 minus 4 AP 3 damage. So if like you're putting Terminators on their invul, like anything with a 2 up and no invul is at like a 6 up. In assault
Yeah.
doctrine, they're off their save at all. Yeah.
Can you imagine them getting into a unit of grotesques, like hitting on 3s, rolling 1s, winning on 2s, rolling 1s? And if
Yeah.
they're not artists of flesh, every failed save is like 4 damage. Then you feel no pain. So you could actually do a lot of work in the meta. That's the 3 assault sensor. Another thing I want to test out.
Yeah, we Deathwatch and Raven Guard are the only ones that can actually take them and deep strike them, which is
Yeah.
huge. Although if you really wanted to be cheeky, you could run a couple assaults and Tyrion squads and throw them into a Corvus.
Yeah, well, you can run, I think, 4 in a Corvus can fit.
Yeah,
So the only,
four will max it out because
yeah, the
they're
only issue is people can have some tactical movement and base block you. So like obviously if the plane dies and they base block you, you can emergency disembark. But if the plane doesn't die, you're stuck in the Corvus and you have to keep flying off. So that's pretty average.
yeah, but I mean you can also I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I think a smart player could work that out. I mean
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
get it's a pretty big base, right? That's like I don't know. You'd have to get
Uh
swarmed to get base blocked.
yeah, it's pretty easy to get base blocked, man, because those Centurions are on I think 50 or 60 mils. I think no, I think they're on 40 or 50 mils. Yeah,
Oh,
bit bigger than
yeah,
Terminators, so
that's
it's actually quite simple to
it's
base block
actually
them. And because
a great
the
point.
emergency disembark only works when a transport's destroyed, you can't do it if you've just been wrapped up. They can really like sometimes like dying and falling out is better than your unit staying stuck in the plane.
Yeah, I guess
So
that's true.
yeah,
I hadn't thought about that. We're my local gaming group is not at the level where we're gonna be doing that. Like
no,
we're
fair enough.
we're
Yeah.
just we're not at that meta level yet, but it's definitely something to keep in in mind. See, it's very interesting. It's like have you heard about the like in chess, right? Or whatever, where if you're playing somebody like if you're an experienced player, you're playing somebody who's very very new, and this happens in like League of Legends or StarCraft or whatever as well. There's a difference in meta, like like gaming knowledge level,
Yeah.
and a new player will do some wacky shit that will just completely like throw the master player off because they're like, what are they doing? And they're trying to go down the logical conclusions of what
Yeah.
they would see another player of their caliber do. And but it's like the new player's like, no, I bought these models because they look cool.
Yeah,
And they're like,
it's
well,
like when
what?
you game theory to that high level,
Yes.
then sometimes even though you've accommodated for X, Y, and Z, you've forgotten how to accommodate for A.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
So
yeah.
it's fun having these conversations with these much more experienced players because I would have never thought about that. Like base blocking has, I mean, we've never gotten to that like spot yet. I'm not even quite sure when I should heroically intervene and when I shouldn't, and I think that's a skill I should probably learn before I start worrying about base blocking.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, so all right, man. Well, just to go over this list that we just popped together, and I'll stick a link to it in the description below. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I actually wanted it up on the screen so we could see as we went through, but we're at 1997 out of 2000. Two extra relics, a Calexis, a captain with jump pack and the Dominus Aegis, the Imperium's sword and the Xenophage blade, a librarian with the jump pack. They're rocking the Inferno pistol, the Auspicator, Neural Void, fortified with contempt and mantle of shadow. The chaplain on bike with the +1 to wound in melee and the +2 to charges with the beacon, and he's a master of sanctity. And then we have the Indomitor kill team with 5 eradicators, 4 with heavy melta, 1 with the multi melta, and then all of the heavy intercessors are they're rocking the assault 3 strength 5 gun with no AP. And then we have 3 Proteus kill teams that are exactly the same 5 veterans with the shotgun. All the sergeants have the combat shield. 2 Van Vets with lightning claw and storm shield, and then 2 bikers with the chain swords. And then to top it off, our troops, we have a Spectrus kill team with the Helix gauntlet, and then so that's 5 infiltrators, and then we have the assaults and Centurion squad with flamers and hurricane bolters and those crazy drills. So
Yeah, I'm keen to try it out. I mean, hey, this list could fully flop, and we could just be,
oh yeah.
looking at something bad. But this is probably the next test. If you had time, I had some really interesting Deathwatch soup ideas, man.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I unfortunately have to bail. I gotta go
oh,
take my
that's all right.
dog to
That's cool.
daycare, and then I have to start my meetings
Yeah, no, that's all good.
for the day. And it's like almost 2 in the
I
morning
could
there right now.
honestly keep. Yeah, it's nearly 2 a.m., but I could honestly keep talking.
You
But
are
guys,
yeah.
Deathwatch and Guilliman, try it.
Deathwatch and Guilliman. Okay.
1 week later.
All right. So I know that for you viewers out there, it looked like the interview was over, but Dineeth and I have been talking over the last few days, and there's been so much that's been happening with Deathwatch lately that we got back on a call. It's 6 a.m. my time. It's 11 p.m. His time, but we're just so stoked that we're gonna jump straight into this again. Anyway, so big news! John Lennon just won the Onslaught GT as Deathwatch. He went 5-0. Had just wiped the field. Absolutely amazing. I don't know if you caught it, Dineeth. It was, I mean, for your timing, it was probably awful. But I did manage to actually watch the last game against Drukari live on stream.
Yeah.
That was super cool to see because man, I don't think those Drukari made it more than halfway up the board. They just got fucking destroyed. It was
Yeah,
the
I
base
watched
of
the stream
fire. Woo.
for that last game as well. It was potent as
Uh,
like all the dreadnoughts just opened up. It was really interesting to see what he was doing with little veteran units with the shotguns, like advancing them up. They were, in key positions
mm-hmm.
to, when a boat blew up, they were in the perfect position to just spray down whatever was inside.
Yep.
I think the list is amazing. I actually will move on to it, but I trialed a little version of the list with the dreads and everything today, and it worked really well.
I'm
But
really
I'm
excited
really
to hear about
interested.
it.
Yeah, man, and I'm really keen to see how this list continues with Dark Technomancers being changed to you can't overcharge the liquefiers. So you still got the Cronus out there that can still do the 2 damage, 3 damage flamers, but like the dreadnoughts in this list, for example, were super resilient to the Dark Technomancers
Yeah,
liquefiers.
let's actually switch straight in over to that list. If you're a Deathwatch player, you've probably seen this list 100 times now, but when you break this down, like I can finally start to tell my idea of, or my knowledge base about this army is getting deep because we were on the Deathwatch Discord and everybody was breaking it down, and I've like folks are like, but I don't know why he has rights of war, and I pointed out the Reaver Lieutenant man with
Mhm.
terror troops.
Amazing.
Like there's every little key, right? It's a well crafted list. So I'm gonna skip past HQs. I'm gonna kind of do this backwards from the way that I usually do. I usually read it kind of verbatim from top to bottom, but so he's got effectively three forces. One is made up of the huge amount of dreadnoughts and HQs in the back, holding probably the back two usually in a 2K game. So you have 5 dreads, 2 relic contemptors, and 3 redemptors, all with the plasma. Um, and then they're getting buffs, just constant buffs from these 3 HQs. So you got the +1 to hit from the Tech Marine. He's a master of the forge, so he's gonna repair for 3 every single turn. He's got Brilliant Strategist, which is the warlord trait for Dark Angels, where if your army's in the tactical doctrine, which we get twice every game, you can put 1 unit back into Devastator. So you have one of these relic contemptors in Devastator doctrine for 3 turns, and then obviously on 1 turn everything is in Devastator. You have nowhere to hide from this Primaris captain. Rights of War gives every core unit within 6 inches of that captain obsec, so those dreadnoughts are all obsec now. The relic shield upgrade allows you to get the Dominus Aegis, so now they also have a 5-up invulnerability save, which is one of the biggest detriments of the Redemptors and the relic Contemptors, is they have no invul save usually. So you have just made this fucking brick. You can't move them. They've got tons of wounds. They've got an invul save. They're healing. They're hitting on 2s. They're getting more AP. Not that the relic, or not that the plasma Redemptors need it, but the Volkites definitely do. And then to top it all off, even if you get your units into this Deathwatch army's backfield, onto their back objectives, the Primaris captain is giving them OBSEC, and then the Reaver Lieutenant with the Auspicicator, by the way, so +2 to hit against fly units. So then if you get a unit up on the backfield, the Reaver Lieutenant for 2 CP turns off your OBSEC. And then even just one Redemptor with OBSEC is holding it now. Like, this is a really well thought out list.
If I can add to that, I mean, the Rights of War gives OBSEC to core and characters. So you can set up a situation where the Reaver Lieutenant is in the middle of an objective, because he's on a 40 mil base. So if he's in the middle of an objective, he covers a whole objective.
Mm-hmm.
You have Rights of War, and you can do one of two things. You can either preemptively pop terror troops if you know they're coming towards you, or you can let them hit you, think they've got you to 0 primary, and then start of your command phase, terror troops, end of your command phase, primary scoring, 5 primary.
Yep, it's so good, man. Yep. Like, that little piece of tech with that Reaver Lieutenant is just like, it's a well-crafted cake anyway, right? Like, it's a good looking cake, but that little, like, just the little, that icing on top is just amazing. And then you've got the troops. So we're seeing incursors a lot now. You can forward deploy them, hold an objective, put on pressure right away, first turn. You can use guerrilla tactics to remove them and place them down later. Very common now. And for 1 more point per dude over an intercessor, and they do all that. Love them. Then we have 3 identical Proteus kill teams. Love seeing the firstborn out there just getting it. Love it. So you have, usually you see a lot of Vanguard vets right now. Jack and John went for the bikers because they've got more wounds. They're toughness 5. They can advance a forever advance, like, so fast. They bring the Vanguard vet with the Storm Shield to give them a little more survivability, and then also Deathwatch when there is an infantry model in a biker unit, the bikers get the infantry keyword and can move through buildings. So you're adding to their maneuverability, so they don't have to avoid buildings or avoid breachable ones. Anyway, and then you have 5 shotgun troops with the Watch Sergeant having that combat shield for that 5-up invul. So if you get hit by plasma or something, at least now you have the opportunity to not just immediately get wiped. And if you watch the stream, and Dineeth, you probably saw way more than I did. Like, the screening from the vets going out there, like you mentioned earlier, the dreads would pop one of those raiders and the veterans would already be in place to just flamer them. Because for those of you who aren't aware of the shotgun profiles, there are 3 of them, and one is an 8-inch assault D6 flamer profile. And you have 5 of them in a unit. So 5 D6 shots. Yeah, they're only strength 4, but against Drukhari, like, that's wounded on 3s. So I mean, what do you think, Dineeth? This.
Yeah, I was really excited. After like I just mentioned to you before we started recording, I had a practice game with the shotguns, and they were cool. I mean, you do give up the 2-up armor and 4-up inver that you get with the storm shield, so there is a trade off. So if you're just going for cheap bodies, because a shotgun's free, it's a 20-point model with a shotgun, so you do keep things fairly cheap. You do lose the invo, and you do lose the 2-up armor, which is a big thing. But having the one Watch Sergeant with the combat shield does help that. But yeah, man, they are such nice troops choices. Like I had a practice game, I just white scars the unit, advanced, flamed, charged. I was like, wow, this thing is multi-purpose. This 5-man
my
unit is just doing so
God.
much. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I like
Yeah.
every one of the shotgun profiles are assault, right?
Yep. It's
That's
amazing, man.
No, I didn't even see. I didn't even put that that together. That's amazing. Yeah.
And the
As if
strength doesn't matter, like, because if you just pop tome on a key turn, all those flamers are doing so much to whatever you tome.
Yeah, and oh man, yeah. I as if we needed more reasons to use Brotherhood of Veterans on White Scars, but here we are.
Yeah, it's just a nice little kit to have in your pocket, because then your veterans are moving like 15 to 20 inches easily, with an advance and charge. It's 6 plus 3d6, so what's that, like easy 15. You're getting across the board, and in the meantime you're shooting and you're fighting, so you're just active in all of a sudden 3 phases, 4 phases of the game. Like it's awesome for a 100-point
Oh
unit.
man,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
that's incredible.
um
I mean, I don't know if there's much more to pick apart with this list. Like the subtlety is really in the HQs and how they just support
yeah.
the hell out of the dreadnoughts. Like, oh, and the I don't know if you saw on the stream, but the Tech Marines heavy bolter, which is a forge bolter, I think is the actual name, is actually assault 3, not heavy 3.
Okay.
So it's a heavy bolter profile in every way, except it's assault 3.
Sweet.
Because it's
That's
on
lovely.
his shoulder or whatever. And that actually came up in that game. Like the Tech Marine was killing stuff. Not a lot of stuff, but the Tech Marine was also killing stuff. So it's just man, this list has got it going on. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations to John and to by proxy every single Deathwatch player who was feeling down about their army and, and then watching him.
We're all gonna make it. We're all gonna make it.
Yeah, and just so that we're clear, actually, if I switch over to the browser here and we go to John Lennon, he played against. So he 5-0'd. And I don't want to go and open every window again, but he fought Necrons twice, Drakari once. He fought Imperial Knights, which I thought was pretty interesting. Actually, he might have fought Drakari twice. Well, now I've got to break them down, don't I? So Quentin, Gabrielle, Todd, Jonathan, and Will. So it looks like he played Tau, then Knights, then Necrons, and then Drukari. So he got to play against a lot of Xenos, which I'm sure was money.
Yeah, and I think having played this style of this just today, I see where the tech into Suffer Not the Alien, the secondary is. That tech is huge, because you're just killing heaps of models.
Yeah, I mean,
heaps of units all day.
Yeah, if you're just every raider's worth a point at that, there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's actually go into your version of this list that you played today. So I already made fun of Dineeth before recording started, that he's down 8 points somehow. So we'll get to that, but he's got the same exact HQs. Except you've got Warden of the Ancients. What?
I wanted to try it.
That's
because
the one that allows you to heal for 4 instead of 3. Is that one?
No, it's actually the one that gives an aura of +1 strength and attack for dreadnoughts.
Okay.
So I was looking at like how often I'd want to put, like how impactful it was to put one dreadnought back into Dev Doctrine.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, we've already got nowhere to hide. We're taking off cover. We've already got a bucket load of shots coming in. So I wanted to try, and I realized that was only going to help one dreadnought. So it'll
Yeah.
keep one dreadnought in Devastator, for the game. So I thought, why not boost these dreadnoughts up a bit more to push them up to 6 attacks on the charge. Um, so I added that little bit of tech, and it actually came up in the game because the dreadnoughts got touched by, like, I was playing a Nids and GSE player, Wayne,
Mm.
who's he's actually off the back of beating 2 or 3 Drakari lists with his Nids and GSC. Like, he's having a great time. Not bad players either. Like, it's actually like an interesting cut across the meta to beat Drakari. So I was like, cool, let's test it out. And he fought and killed one of my dreadnoughts and touched another one to stop it,
Ooh.
shooting other things. And it was like, cool, and 6 of them got picked up, and they failed morale, and they lost 2 more, and I'm not I'm not in combat anymore. So like, it was nice to have that. And then I was actually able to like run the dreadnought up, well, not run him, just walk him up, charge the swarm lord, kill swarm lord. Like, just that extra little attack and strength was nice because
Mhm.
then push him to strength 8 base, so your fist is what, strength 8 16.
Strength 16, yeah. You're
Yeah,
wounding
and then
plague burst crawlers on twos.
yeah, you're literally one hitting an Imperial Knight at that stage. Like,
Ooh.
it's into that kind of territory, right? So it's your minimum 4 and you got 6 attack. So it's like,
Yeah.
if things go through, yeah.
So John ran the brilliant strategist warlord trait. You ran Warden of Ancients. I had been thinking there's the Iron Hands one that Deathwatch can take, and that's where you get it would be D3 plus 1 for your heal normally, but if you take Master of the Forge, that's a flat 3, and then that other would add 1 more for 4. So I
That's
was
not bad.
thinking about just making them even more bricky, like
Yeah.
more tanky. But this is a great idea too. +1 strength, +1
Yeah.
attack, yeah.
Um,
And D3 plus 3, like you said, that's a no joke
Yeah.
punch in the face.
Yeah, I think it needs some testing to see whether it's worth it, but it also just adds that extra little bit in. Like, let's say if you get hit by, like I said last time, I think the thing that Dark Eldar is going to go into is the Artists of Flesh, especially here in Australia. So a lot of Grotesque, Talos, Kronos that are neg 1 damage. So if
Mhm.
you get charged by a bunch of Talos or Grotesque, you need that little bit of extra punch to just churn your way through it. And I think that's what I was taking for. But yeah, we can keep going in the list. Otherwise, characters are the same.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, man, that nowhere to hide aura is just. I don't remember when the supplement came out. I don't remember anybody talking about that one. Like, everybody was all for ties that bind, because you can get double obsec on a unit and stuff, or which is also great, but it's also, if there's nobody on the objective.
Yeah.
Don't need
Like,
double obsec because they're
I
all
still
dead.
remember when the book came out, I lost my mind about optimized priority. I was like, oh my God, the whole army can shoot while doing
Oh
actions. And it's
yeah,
like,
that's a good one too.
well, it
Yeah,
actually isn't that impactful because you might do maybe 2 or 3 actions a whole game. And
yeah. Well,
you just afford for 1 unit to do it. Yeah.
I think it's more impactful when you're running like an Indomitor kill team, right? And you're like, I can't afford to have this 500 point unit not shooting, right? So you're like, I can put optimized priority on them. That's where it's money. But now that we see pretty much everybody, almost everybody, going over to like MSU, at least for Deathwatch, right? Where you're picking up like these really cheap shotgun vets and you're just running large groups of them. It doesn't matter if one group of 5 guys don't shoot that turn. You can have one of them do an action and you're like, that's golden, right? It's 100 points not doing something versus 500 or 400 or whatever.
That's, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So your Proteus kill teams here are just a little different. You dropped 1 biker and went for another Storm Shield Vanguard vet. I would probably do this as well. First of all, I can't find biker squads anywhere to buy. Like, I can find the scout bikers, but nobody even, who cares? But you went for a little more tanky tank on by bringing along a second Storm Shield, which I think is a good choice.
Yeah, like if I can add to that, I mean, the Vanguard vet in the combat squatted unit of bikers is doing two things, right? Like it's being a tank with the invo, like the 2 up, 4 up, but it's also giving all the infantry kind of benefits to the bikers. So you don't want that. Like I saw that and went, okay, well then I've only got one shot. Like if I fail my 4 up, then that
Mm,
whole biker unit loses everything. So I was like, cool, let me double down a bit. Let me go to 2, so I can retain, my majority toughness 5. I can retain, a whole heap of wounds. I only lose one more
yeah.
wound in the unit, not a big deal. But then I just get a second chance. So first Storm Shield dies. I've still got, all the infantry benefits as breachable terrain, stuff like that,
Yeah.
for the bikers. So I just thought it was a bit
And
more of a safer play.
and allowing like the other thing for the infantry keyword um is that the bikers can now do actions.
Yeah,
So
I'm
like,
not sure if I think you've got to have the infantry model doing the action. I'm not 100% sure
oh
on it,
really?
but
Okay.
that's all. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Maybe they
somewhere in there they
changed
said
that
the
then.
actual biker model can't. Yeah, but
Ah,
like if the
okay.
Vanguard vet jumps forward, does the action? It's still great. Like it's
Right,
still
but I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, going back to that game that was streamed with John, like, he kept pushing up what was on the left side of our screen from our vantage point, and he was on like the Drakari, one of their base objectives, for like 3 turns. And could you imagine the not to say John would do something like this during a GT, but like, could you imagine being so petty as to like, I'm gonna raise a banner, like you're not near it. I'm gonna
yeah.
raise a banner on it. Like it's just
That's
funny.
funny. Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I love all those tech choices on your Proteus teams, man. Like the tier 5, the toughness 5 from the bikers is really good. Like at worst, most of the stuff in the game is going to be wounding you on 3s. I mean, Meltas and Plasma's going to wound you on 2s all the time, or almost all the time anyway. But even so, like, this would make a Redemptor wounding you on 3s, not 2s, right? Like,
yes,
that's pretty, even if they overcharge. So that, like, extra toughness is actually way more money than I think some people give it credit for. But here we go. So there are two tech choices in here that make me just giddy like a schoolgirl. So the first one are Assault Centurions, which, other than Raven Guard, I think Deathwatch, because we can deep strike any one or any 2 units in a 2K game, you went with 195 points, 36 hurricane bolter shots, because you're gonna bring them down from deep strike, and then 6d6 flamers, 2 up armor save. Yeah, they're slower than hell. They're ignoring cover naturally from the omniscope, I think. It is. They are for 195 points. It's actually really interesting. Nevin Smith won an RTT last week with a Raven Guard list where he brought like 5 units of different types of Centurions, and he was saying that, like, if you compare a 195 point Assault Centurion squad to a unit of 5 aggressors, which is about the same price, you're still way ahead of the game. They're, you know, yeah, the Centurions aren't core, but the amount of firepower that they can just push out in even just
yeah,
1 turn is nuts. And then if anybody is a mad lad enough to actually charge them and not wipe them out, it's like what? It's 3 base attacks, strength
10 neg 4.
strength
Yeah,
10, yeah, neg 4, 3 damage from those siege drills. Like, it's, yeah, they move 5 inches, which sucks. They're slow, but so is an Indomitor team. They're slow too. So is a
I mean,
Terminator.
yeah, like I mean, we saw for those who played in 8th edition, that before the Raven Guard forward deploy, Master of Ambush got nerfed, you could forward deploy 15 Centurions. And there's a few people in Australia that were running that list in 8th. One of our local players, Ben Warrior, ran that classically. He would just dive like 1,200 points of Centurions into someone's face
Ooh.
turn one, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot you and charge you."
Yeah.
So that was a thing, and then that got changed. So a lot of the Raven Guard list moved to aggressors and Vanguard vets, and Centurions kind of fell by the wayside. But their their merit is still in their stat line, like their toughness 5, 4 wounds. Yeah, you've got it right there, mate. Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff, Rick.
Man, it's
Toughness 5, 4 wounds, 2 up armor is beautiful, especially when you stick them in cover. There's even some play mucking around, making them salamanders and sticking them around like weird spots to give them a two up, like against Neg 1. So,
so
like they're just so good.
the only problem with that is Brotherhood of Veterans. Only you have to pop it in your command phase, and I think
Yes.
it ends at the end of your turn. So you can't.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
never
it is unfortunately it is worthless defensively. I would love if they fact that so that you could do that. Like, I'm gonna ignore AP1, or there's the Raven Guard one where it's like, I'm gonna get neg 1 to hit because I'm
Beautiful.
18 inches away from you, so have fun with that. But unfortunately, the way Brotherhood of Veterans is actually written, you can't use it. So which means really we're gonna use it for White Scars and Blood Angels and Imperial Fists and maybe Crimson Fists, and that's it. But it's still
Like
such a fun strat to use.
Yeah, so like, of course they're not core, but Deathwatch have a very interesting ability where you've got reroll ones to hit against Xenos and reroll ones to wound against a battlefield roll. So let's say you go Space Wolves on these guys, you make them hit on 2s, you charge something, that's your battlefield roll, you're suddenly hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. So, there's a lot of tech there.
Yeah. Also remember, if you use Brotherhood of Veterans, you lose the Xenos Hunter chapter tactic.
Mate,
you're replacing it.
What would I do without you? What would I do without
I can't believe that I get to correct you. And
I'll
and
get me off the show. I'll go back in my box now.
Oh man, but I mean, no, you're right. Like, hitting on 2s, and you're gonna be wounding most things in the game on 2s with an Assault Centurion anyway. Like, what do you need? What do you need? Need reroll? I mean, reroll 1s would be really, really good. But yeah, I mean, making them Space Wolves. Couldn't you? I mean, you could even make them Space Wolves and then heroically intervene, right? No, because that would be
Rick.
because that would be on your yeah. I was gonna say that would be at the end of your opponent's charge phase.
Yeah.
See, I knew how the strat worked, and I forgot how the charge phase worked. So I mean, I'm just showing my ass now. Anyway,
you can also stick them in a Corvus, which is cool.
Yes, you can, and 3 of them only takes up 9 slots, so you could theoretically have a squad of 4 just jammed into there, like a. I imagine it's like the Japanese subway where they're like pushing people.
Yeah,
like get in.
Like they're disembarking. The first guy gets stuck in the door. Yeah,
yeah.
It's gonna be like But yeah, like I just played one practice game with them, and I really liked what they added. And I reckon there's even some games where you'll want to deploy them with the dreadnoughts. Just sit back saying, oh, if you hit a dreadnought, obviously the dreadnought's going to punch you, but then you've got this really nasty unit just sitting behind you, waiting to jump out and spray you down. And even let's say you deep strike them into a corner, it's not as if they're stuck there, because if there's something about 15 inches away, or let's say 18 inches away, which is what people think is safe, you just go White Scars, and you go. It's like you've got 5 inches plus 3d6, and you're getting there on a good roll. So there's definitely ways that you can move them with Deathwatch a bit quicker than normal. In this list, when I played it, I really wanted the Beacon Angelus, like I wanted to fit it in. I realized it wouldn't be as impactful because there's no big Indomina team. There's no other big unit that you could throw around. So that's, I guess, I think you can still beacon the Centurions, can't you? I don't think the beacon's locked to core. I think it's infantry and biker.
It does say one here, actually. Let's check it out. I think it's just one unit, so
yeah, I believe it's infantry and biker, but infantry or biker, yeah. So you can still beacon Centurions, which is really nice. That could be an application for some people who want to try it. But yeah, man, I really liked the little unit of 3 assault cents. It was lovely, and it's just another thing where if you imagine how the army functions, you've got these toughness 7 dreadnoughts, these toughness 5 biker teams that are forward, this toughness 7 plane, and now some toughness 5 centurions. Like there's no
Oh
easy
yeah,
thing
you're
for like
right.
stuff to chip away. So yeah, it fit really nicely. I think I need to practice it a bit more, but I liked it.
And it's just, again, it's just like so many dice you get to roll. So even if they do, so you deep strike this thing, even if you give it no support and you're like, I'm throwing away this 195 point unit to just put on a bunch of pressure, you're forcing your opponent to deal with it. Like they can't leave it back there. They have to shoot it, charge it, do something, right? So like, yeah, that's, I mean, even if you're just like, that's all it does, the whole point of it is to drop down one turn, do a bunch of damage, and then die. And then, oh, bonus if I get to play it one more turn, right? Like, you're forcing them to deal with a pretty hard to remove unit.
Yeah, and it's like if you play against a demon player that hits you with like 20 bloodletters, like most armies can just put all their little like pissy shots and like little random bolter shots into those bloodletters, and you'll kill like the whole unit. Because everyone's just got like random storm bolters on rhinos or like little infantry at the back that like will just kill 3 or 4 bloodletters just by looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got assault centurions, if you like drop them in, flame, shoot, dig them into cover, you can't just chip them away. So whatever's actually shooting them, it's really interesting. Whatever's shooting them is shots that aren't going onto your dreadnoughts, and then your dreadnoughts are just safe. And if they were hit hard before, cool, the Tech Marine's just getting extra time healing stuff up. So
Yeah,
I
it's true.
I want to try it a
That's a
bit
good
more
point.
because I think it plays into that same archetype that the dreads are, and I think it creates a bit of a target problem because like those assault cents can just punch their way through stuff, and then people will get freaked out, and then their attention will be off the gun line. So yeah,
I
I want to
mean,
try it. I think it'll be cool.
yeah, base 3 damage means like if you get those things in, and they have a lot of attacks.
It's like 21 attack. No,
it's
it's like
yeah,
16 attacks.
it's
Or
3
15 or something.
base. It's 3 base, 4 for the sergeant, plus 1 for Angels of Death. What are they?
Is that like
Shock
13
assault.
attacks?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're strength 10, 3 damage. Like, you know, that's even like you're gonna shoot through plague marines, no problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
wounding
you're
on
punching through
2s.
armor. Yeah.
Yeah, most. I mean, yeah, it's really, they're quite fun and they're cool. Like I love chunky models, and you don't get any chunkier infantry model than the Centurion, right? They look a little bit like a cardboard box, but
They look so Gumby, hey. They look like they would not be able to like reach in front of their own body. They've just got these lateral arms going.
yeah, it's true. They're just
Yeah.
out like this all the time.
It's like, oh, touch your nose.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good point. How does the Space Marine like scratch his nose if he gets an itch? That's gotta suck. All right, and then you've got the 3 macro plasma incinerator onslaught Gatling. You also choose the storm bolters. I prefer them as well. So this is even the Icarus rocket pod here. I was gonna say there's 5 of your 8 points, but you already beat me to it. So yeah, just a withering amount of firepower, toughness 7, 13 wounds. Like if you get into melee with them, they're slapping you. 4 base damage or 4 minimum damage from melee is no joke. You got the blast from the plasma. Like yeah, the D6 shot sucks. But because like sometimes it's always feast or famine with like D6 weapon shots, right? It's never like 4. It's either 6 or like 2.
Yeah, it's like a 1 rerolled into a 1 or a 6, and then you cop 2 mortal wounds. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't think we have to spend a whole lot of time on the Redemptors. They're just like, there's a reason why people are maxing out Redemptors at 3 all the time, because they're so damn good. Wisdom of the Ancients just awesome. Okay, and then we have the Corvus Blackstar, which is the other thing that makes me super giddy. Everybody by now knows how I feel about that model. So you got the Auspex array on there, the Hurricane Bolter. I see you went with the blast rockets and the twin assault canon. Is that was that because you knew you were going to be playing Nids, or is that it? Like, is this more of an all-comers style list?
Yeah, this is the setup I've kind of always taken in ninth edition with the Corvus, just because like one of the nice things it has like is that it can ignore cover, right? Like it's really
Yeah.
nice. So it's not there to hunt your big stuff, your dreadnoughts and I guess your assault cents in combat are there to hunt your big stuff. The Corvus is there to just to be a general nuisance, like just to be just that thorn in the side. Doing, if you roll up to something and you blast it, 12 assault cannon shots, I think it's 12 Blackstar rocket shots, and then 12 hurricane bolter shots. So it's a lot of shots. Because what are the Blackstar rockets? They're 2d3, and I believe you have two of them.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. You.
so that's max 12 shots. So if you roll up to a big horde of 11 or more, that's 36 shots. You're hitting on threes if you're full profiles, let's say 24 hits. And let's say it's a horde of toughness 3, you're winning on threes. And if you've got mission tactic cranking, rerolling ones. So it's like, yeah, I don't even know the math. Take like 18 saves or like 15 neg 1 saves, and it
Yeah.
just blows away little stuff. Also really
That's
cheeky
pretty-
for just flying up to a little character and killing it, because you can hover it. There's a lot of nice stuff there.
Yeah. If they're
It's also
not,
nice to. Sorry.
there's that threat overload, like you said, where if they're not real careful about how they move their HQs up, because usually you'll see like they move up a blob of units, and then down here is like their HQ. But if you can fly around, guess who no longer has lookout, sir?
Yeah.
And you pop their apothecary or something. Like, that's gonna really lower the efficiency of that army by a significant amount. So
Yeah, like with this list, it's like John Lennon and Jack Harpster's list had the two Volkite Contemptors,
mhm.
which obviously are great. And then I put the army on the table, like their army on the table, and I went, wow, it's actually really hard to deploy 5 dreadnoughts, especially with the amount of terrain that we have here in Australia on a normal table. It's like, wow, like this is actually like 2 of them are stuck in my deployment zone, and the other 3 are kind of isolated. So I was like, oh, I'll just stick to 3 dreads. And then what would complement the list more? Well, I reckon 2 things that would complement it more is stuff that takes fire away from the dreads. So all the
Mhm.
guns aren't pointed in one direction. So
Right.
if there's a
That's a good
plane,
point.
yeah. So if you're shooting stuff off objectives in the middle, you're forcing people to commit forward, right?
Mhm.
And then if the plane's going around killing stuff from the back and the assault sensor popped up on a flank, you're just crippling them on another side. And it's like, wow, does your opponent have enough stuff to keep committing to all these sides? Or is one flank going to fold? Or is their backfield going to fold? Or are they going to stop coming forward because they're protecting a flank or a backfield? So I thought because of that, I might get more out of the Corvus and the assault sense than the 2 contemptors. It also saves me CPU, which is
It
nice.
does.
Having a bit of
Yeah.
CP is really glad. Is good to do.
What are you
So
at
yeah,
on
that
this
was.
list?
I think it's 8, because it's 2 extra relics,
It's
1
8.
extra warlord trait, and vigil unmatched. So
Yeah.
yeah, 8. So I'll stick the sense in reserve if I have to for 7. And worst case, if I'm up against a gun line and I shroud field the Corvus, I'm still at 5. So I can do
Yeah.
all that pre-game stuff and still be at 5, which is handy, rather than be at 3 and kind of be stuck.
Yeah. And the other things I wanted to mention about the relic contemptors is I mean, I don't know when it will happen, but I'm pretty sure these things are gonna get nerfed somehow. Because they're
Yeah, or like
like,
lose core or something, right? Like something's gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah, they'll lose core, or they'll no longer get mortal wounds from the twin Volkites, or the twin Volkites will go up in price. So something will happen. I don't know. Whatever. The other thing is that for us mere mortals, it is like impossible to get one of these right now. You can get the
Yeah,
body online. You can have them ordered and shipped to you, but you can't find the Volkites anywhere. Found one on
yeah.
eBay, one, and the guy wanted like $45 for one Volkite gun, and I'm like, nah,
He's a smart man.
that's insane. I mean, yeah, I mean you know the market will pay what the market will bear, right? But like, fuck me if I'm gonna actually pay 3 times as much money as its MSRP. So,
Yeah.
and then like you said, the CP, like, yeah, they're cheap for points. They're 35 points less than the Redemptors, but you are paying for it with CP instead, and that's just here. Let me go back to Jack's. Yeah, -1 CP. It's hard to. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. Deathwatch isn't as so Jack's starting with 6, or Jack, J and J, John and Jack. So yeah, it's a little hard to, at least for me, like, you know, as a newer player, those CP are really clutch. And I always try to have a game plan for how I'm gonna use them that aren't rerolls.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can always use it for a reroll, but ideally you're putting yourself into a situation where you don't have to rely on rerolls.
I think the one thing I wanted to squeeze in was 5 infiltrators with a Helix Adept. I wanted to like shove that in somewhere in this list, but I just couldn't find it. Like I would have to cut one of the Proteus teams in half, or remove Centurions, or take the Corvus out. So I realize in this list I've got no screen, but that's okay because the Redemptors in general can kind of bully up as the front line against most things. And if they can't, cool, I'll just stick 5 veterans in front. Or if they can't, oh, cool, I'll put a plane in front so they can't charge the aircraft. So there's still a few things I can do to stop getting alphaed. So yeah, it'll need some testing, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so you're 8 points, man. I don't really know what. I mean, you could give like 2 of these bikers power swords or something, and you're still like, that's not even. And then you got to remember that they have them.
That's going to be annoying.
It's not really worth it.
I don't know. What can I do? The Primaris Techie, all the 3 characters are maxed out.
Yeah. So you don't have enough to add the 10-point upgrade to get +1 against flyers for the Corvus.
Yeah, I think it's a choice now. I think you've got to choose between the Auspex array and that one. But I think they've changed it to that.
Actually, is it even fly? I think it's just air. I think it specifically
No,
says aircraft.
I think it's like reroll failed wound rolls or something. Failed saves. Oh, +1 saving throws. Yeah.
So each time a range attack made by an aircraft model is allocated to this bearer. So it's only the Corvus getting shot at by other aircraft. It's not even fly keyword. It's nothing like that. It's just you get +1 to your save if you're shot by aircraft. And how many aircraft are out there right now? I mean, there's some play right now with AdMech using them, and that's pretty much it that I'm aware of right now.
The Orc ones, some Grey Knights players will run a Storm Raven to do the Edict Imperator trick, but nothing you really care about, I don't think.
People do that?
It's actually sick, dude. Yeah, you can Edict the Storm Raven off the board, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the whole Edict my Purifiers back into a Rhino before. That's pretty fun. But anyway. So yeah, your list looks fun. I definitely we're gonna start a Crusade League with my friends here, and I totally went with one group of Assault Centurions, and I had one requisition point left over, so I gave the sergeant the artificer bolt cache, so he'll have special issue ammo on his hurricane bolter.
Dude, maybe I should do that. That's actually a play. That's actually a play. I'm gonna do that.
Well, you get like you were saying, if they think they're safe, they're 18 inches away. You're like, guess what? My half range is up by 3 more, or up by 3 more.
Huh?
Because you can
2 damage shots. Hey.
Yep, you can make them 2 damage shots. You can make them wound one easier. So if you like drop behind, say, a Gravis squad, and you don't want to wound on 5s, you want to wound on 4s. That's something. But the 2 damage shot one is obviously the money maker.
That's actually bonkers, dude. I might have to try it. Yeah.
You could use the ignore cover ammo on your unit that already ignores cover.
Already ignoring cover. Yeah.
Yeah. So after our last discussion, I took one of my lists, which and I kind of did a little bit of the Jack Harpster and John Lennon treatment to it. So this is my Terminator list, because I love Terminators. but what I did is I basically took it so that there are in each of my Proteus squads here. I've got 4 total. 2 of them have the Terminators with the Cyclone missile launchers, and then I gave them 2 screening Storm Shield dudes.
Yep.
Because I didn't have enough points for another heavy weapon, and you obviously, if you combat squad, it has to be 5 and 5. You can't be like, 3 and 7. So those guys would probably be there mainly to just eat shots that they're trying to kill those Cyclone missile launchers. Then I've got the shotgun guys. And then I have more shotguns, and I went with 2 big groups of Van Vets with lightning claws and some storm shields. They would probably start in deep strike. And then I also went with a Corvus, which I would probably put 2 of these 5-man shotgun squads in, to just be really frightening if they ever get dropped down. And then I only went with 2 Redemptors, which actually makes me kind of wonder about the Tech Marine choice. But he can be there all the time, giving at least one of them +1 to hit. I put Brilliant Strategist on the captain. I was kind of debating whether I make the captain a beat stick or just a buffing character, and effectively he's just gonna be a buffing character right now. So I think the jump pack is a waste of 25 points. The Xenophase blade is probably a waste of. I could probably go with the Primaris captain here instead and get the same.
I think
thing
for the Dreadnought line,
points.
I think the jump pack's a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
And even looking at the Primaris captain with the shield, it's nice that he has that mortal wound save when like the crazy succubus rolls up and like hits you with the whip, and you take like 6 mortal wounds.
6
you're just
mortal
dead.
wounds.
So yeah, it's actually not a bad piece of tech to have, and he naturally has a master-crafted power sword for 2 damage, which is kind of cool too. So.
I went with Twin Laz on here because I was figuring that with all these shotguns and the only other anti-tank I really had being the Redemptors and the Cyclone missiles, that might be enough that I don't need to roll the Twin Laz on the Corvus. But also, after we spoke, you might see that I added some teleport homers here, because the idea of like being able to drop down on turn 4 or 5, like come back to my own deployment zone, or if like I'm losing a flank or in the enemy's deployment zone, I can come down and because this whole Proteus team is OBSEC, like it might be enough to swing 5-10 points my direction. I know the way the teleport homer works is you can either come down in your deployment zone or within 3 inches of a friendly model. So you can't just it's not like Gate of Infinity or the Orc Power jump. So you can't just go anywhere, but you can strategically I'm about to lose this flank, so I'll drop these guys down now. I do like that. I don't know if I need 2, but I figured I've never played with it. I'll try it out.
Oh, dude, stick them on every squad. I think it's cool. It also gives you a bit of incentive to not combat squad, because then you can just dive full units forward, fully commit to a flank where you think you can keep them safe. Like if there's an objective half in, like obviously outside a ruin, but like the footprint of the objective is in the ruin, and you've got people putting like their little chaff troops in it, you could just dive a big kill team there, make a big problem, flick a banner up, and then turn 4, just teleport Homer out and go to safety.
Yeah.
So there's ways like we talked about last time, like there's ways to make people commit to a side and swing a flank, and then you just get out of the way. And I think that's the cool tech in the teleport Homer. It won't happen every game, but just having it up your sleeve is cool.
Yeah, and the way the teleport Homer works, because there was some discussion about this when the supplement first hit, is like, oh, can you pull anything that's not just the Terminators or whatever? And it does just say if the unit contains a Terminator model. So even if you do have 3 Terminators and 7 vets, like my list does, there you go. It'll pull the entire unit anyway, even though the others aren't Terminators. I think they actually fact the wording on that because it was a little more nebulous when the supplement hit.
I believe if you're combat squatted, you've got to choose which side has the teleport homer. Like only one of them can. But the cool thing is that it procs at the start of your movement phase. So if you're stuck in combat or something, I believe you can still do it. Like there's nothing stopping you from if they've wrapped you up in combat, you got no command points, you can just still bugger off into space and come down next turn. So it's really nice.
It's one of the ways that I use Gate of Infinity in my Green Knights army too. Is if I don't want to be in combat here, so I'm just gonna boop. Now I'm not, and I didn't fall back, so I can still shoot. I can still do all that stuff. I like it. So those are. I mean, that's. I mucked around with this for just a few minutes. I'm still. Oh, and then I've got some vets because I had some points left over, and I figured I could use them as action monkeys.
They're nice, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I like Terminators. I don't see them. They're very expensive. I mean, 53 points for these Cyclone missile launcher Terminators is a hard pill to swallow. But so I might drop one, only go with one Terminator squad. I don't know, but
I mean, you might only need Cyclones on one unit because I think Terminators are still pretty cool without the Cyclones. Like they'll do a lot. Yeah, like I said last time, with more practice games, you might say, I only need 1 or 2 of these units rather than 3 Cyclones. Because you've got 3 units all with Cyclones at the moment, hey?
I've got 2. 2
with...
2,
sorry, yeah.
2, the old list that you looked at last had 3, and that was mainly a joke build that I was, like, showing my friends how many heavy weapon Terminators a Deathwatch unit can bring, or a Deathwatch army can bring, because I mean, with the rule of 3 for everyone else, right? Like, we're in a crazy place where we could bring tons of heavy weapon Terminators because we bring them as troops, and so we ignore the rule of 3 for that, But, like, if you wanted to bring them in any other, or almost any other army, like, you can only bring 3 squads, but I could bring way more as Deathwatch. So
just a little thought on the Terminators. Have you had a look at chain fists for them?
I haven't. I've ignored chain sword or chain fists mainly because it's not a very vehicle heavy meta right now, and you get that massive increase from that. Power swords on them are free. Power fists are only like 5 points, I think.
Because I think chain fists are the same as power fists, maybe within a point or 2. But the reason I ask is,
So 5 points for the chain fist, 5 points for the power fist.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the reason I mention it is because with a chain fist, with all this neg 1 damage in there, you're not stuck on a flat 2 damage like your power fist. You also start with a flat AP neg 4, which is really nice. But that D3 damage means into neg 1 damage, instead of either rolling a 1, a 2, or a 3 for your D3, you've got a 1, a 1, or a 2. So compared to a power fist, which is flat 2, which now goes to 1 all the time into neg 1 damage, the chain fist is nice. And then you've got your flat 3 damage into vehicles, which is quite handy. But it just means they can punch on, while you're not in Assault Doctrine, like you're still on neg 4. So I think it's a pretty cool pick if the meta moves into towards more vehicles. Like if a Lehman Russ list gets big, you can run these chain fists at Lehman Russ tank commanders, and like 2 Terminators will kill 1 tank commander. So
that's actually
pretty
a good
cool
point. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
'Cause-
think I think it's a bit of a sleeper pick. Because I've got from 8th edition, I've got stacks of like 15 Deathwatch Terminators loaded up with Chain Fists, and I'm just waiting for them to become relevant again.
So I pulled up the Paragon Warsuit
Yeah.
data sheet here because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those because they're really good. And they are in fact vehicles. So
Yeah. Chain
yeah,
Fists will punch
Chain
these in the
Fists-
dick pretty hard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they've only got 4 wounds anyway, so
Yeah.
if you get some Terminators on them, it's lights out really.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
I think their HQ is Morganval, if I remember the name right.
Yeah, Morven's pretty crazy.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, yeah, I've been and I'm gonna spell that name so wrong.
Morvenn.
VE. Yeah, that's why. Thank
Underscore
you.
VAHL,
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, let's pull that up because woo baby. Like this is a yeah. 265 points vehicle.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, she halves damage, but still, your Chain Fists are doing 2 damage, so it's
Yeah.
nice.
yeah, she does half damage. Or does have damage. Yeah, I've only watched one bat rep with her in it so far. It was Tabletop Titans and against Salamanders and spoilers, but they got real lucky and just nuked her off the board like turn 2 because they wasted her screen and then she got melted. But scary in melee for sure.
I think the Sisters lists with like 15 plus Celestians with Morphin Val is pretty scary. Because obviously Celestians can tank wounds for them, but she also makes the combat Celestians crazy good with their halberds. So
Yeah, these right here.
yeah, they're a good time, man. Like, there are obviously certain things that cut across them because you're paying a lot for a 1 wound model, but it's all of a sudden a Sisters model that has a 2 up, 4 up without being in any auras, and they can just hide in a building and chill out. The Hospitaller can bring back D3 a turn with a strat, so like they're pretty resilient. You run them as Valhart, and then you're in cover, you're on a 1 up, you're ignoring 1 AP on AP 1 and
Yeah.
2, so even against AP neg 2, you're on a 2 up in cover as Valhart, which is kind of nice.
I like how you said they're paying so much for it and they're 14 points apiece.
Well, if you
Like-
look at it, they're actually more expensive than a Deathwatch vet per wound. 14 points a wound is pretty steep. So
I mean, I guess
but yeah.
that's fair, but we also, I mean, we're not getting storm shields for free, and
that's it. Yeah. So it's like
I'm also
it's
comparing
25
this
points for us.
I'm also comparing this to my still 1 wound Grey Knights.
Yeah, you know
and
what?
It's a little,
Yeah.
it's a little, yeah, it's a little sad, but I know that that's gonna change soon. So I won't cry too much more about it, but
We've got a local player in, well, I wouldn't say local, but he's from Melbourne, so Victoria. It's like 2,000 kilometers from Brisbane, but he's a guy called Stuart Trainer, and he's a really good Grey Knights player. And we are all terrified for when the Grey Knights Codex comes out. It's going to be like Liam Neeson. He's going to call us, being like, "I got my Codex. I'm going to find you.
yeah.
I'm going to astrolabe you. I'm going to kill you."
I have a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm already like hobbying up my Grey Knights. I got a box of Paladins and a Strike Squad box waiting to be built too because I want to see what weapons are good. So, anyway, man, cool. We got some cool lists here. We got some interesting tactical ideas. These Centurions are just like, I think they're so much fun, even if they're not good.
Yeah, I'm keen to try them out. I mean, it's just a little bit of a niggly unit, like a little skirmishing unit that I want to try out. They might be bad, who knows? They might be good, who knows? But yeah, I'm keen to test it, and I'll let you know on the results.
And the Corvus out there too. So actually, I just thought about this. So you got the Corvus, who's pretty mobile. Obviously, it's a flyer. And then you have the Centurions in Deep Strike. Probably not spend another CP putting something else in Deep Strike because just 1 CP is so precious. But So you're probably not taking engage unless you're also planning on pushing up really hard with your shotgun vets. Would you put shotgun vets in the Corvus?
Yeah, I think engage is a pretty good pick here. Because like not only can, like you said, the shotgun vets can go in the Corvus, you can fly into a flag and drop them wherever you like, but you've got the little biker and vanguard vet teams that can fly out as normal. But all of a sudden, these shotgun vets are just advancing all game, so they're actually quite mobile to sneak into quarters for engage. I think engage is still good. In a world where suffer not the alien is good. Like if you're playing into Xenos and you can tech that, obviously that's an auto pick. I actually think we have play for the new scramblers. It's a really good pick for us.
Rod. Retrieve Octarius data. Rod.
Oh, Rod. I
Yeah.
like Rod. That's easier to say than Octarius, which is what I've been saying.
Yeah, just Rod.
So yeah,
Does get a little suggestive though if you say it too fast.
Yeah, that's it. I've got 3 rods.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be cool for that secondary. I really like domination as Deathwatch, because domination is kind of like it's like a engage on all fronts light. Like in some games, it's like, would you rather be in 3 quarters, or would you rather just take the 3 objectives that are there and then deny the opponent primary 2? So it's a bit more mission centric, and if you can play that trading game with your opponent, sometimes domination's good.
Yeah, the new stranglehold is yeah. Okay. But it's slightly changed, right? It used to be 3 or more. So like on a 4 objective mission, it was not that great, but on a 6 objective mission, it was amazing. On a 5, it was pretty much 50-50 because it's how you wanted to be playing anyway. But now it's just 3 or more than your opponent, right?
It's actually both. So you have to hold
both.
3 objectives and have more. So what it did is it didn't really change anything for the 4 or 5 objective missions, because you had to have 3 anyway to hold more than half, and you would naturally hold more than your opponent. It makes the 6 objective ones easier, because instead of holding 4, you just have to hold 3 and make sure opponent's not on 3.
Oh, that's right. That's right. If you blow them off of one of theirs, then that's the change. I just bought my 2021 book like 3 days ago, and I haven't played a single game, so
yeah,
a little rusty on the new secondaries.
Like it's also impactful. Let's say on Scorched Earth or Surrounded and Destroy, 2 objectives near your deployment zone, like Dawn of War setup, and then 2 objectives in the middle. If you go first, you don't have to jump 2 units out. Just jump 1 unit forward. You hold 3. Your opponent's still in their zone holding 2. Cool. I get my stranglehold. Cool.
Yeah, it's at the end.
And until
that's right.
Yeah, and until they
end of
come
your
in,
turn,
you can just put 1 unit. You can put 1 unit out, so it's a bit easier on those ones. So it's nice.
Yeah, so I'm not that well versed in all the missions yet, but is that one of the ones where like they're really close to the middle of the board?
It's the one where if you've
really
got the long deployment,
yeah. So
you've
that's
got the Dawn of War style.
Yeah,
old school Dawn of War. So you've got 2 in yours, 2 in theirs, and then 2 in the middle. So those type of missions, domination or stranglehold now has gotten a lot easier.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's a really good option for Deathwatch, because our whole army is literally OBSEC. The issue is Deathwatch, being an elite army, has troubles trading like that for 5 turns. So there's definitely a time and a place where you want to pick engage versus domination. Like on the diagonal maps, like Vital Intel and Sweep and Clear and Priority Target, engage is an easier one typically.
I mean, if you max out your primaries for 3 turns, you don't have to hold any primary anymore, right? Like you've already maxed it out. Yeah. But obviously that's in a perfect world where you're like absolutely crushing it. So and obviously you don't score turn 1 at all. So really you're gonna max out turn 2, 3, and 4, let's say. That means you can abandon everything on turn 5 and go for just pushing your opponent off of theirs. This is also assuming you're going first. So there's a lot of assumptions going on here that aren't necessarily very healthy, but I'm just trying to think about.
Like I still think there are better marine armies if you want to like just dive into someone's home base and just kill everything. Like there's armies that do it like 5 times better than Deathwatch. So if
Yeah, we're
the
not really a
the
combat army, that's for sure. We're no space
no, we have
wolves.
combat. Yeah, like we have combat elements, but we're not 15 Sangard and 15 Vanguard vets. So that's not our
Right.
army.
Yeah.
So when we look at what we can do, it's not really like that kind of game anyway. It's playing fairly safe. It's keeping your resources handy until turns 4 and 5. Is usually the way I would imagine a lot of Deathwatch players play or could be playing.
Yeah. That's a good
So
point.
yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, like the way I've seen Deathwatch is you kind of have a 10% tax on everything compared to your Marine buddies, right? Like compared to a Marine Codex, like our troops are a bit more expensive,
I
and our
mean,
troops are
so a 1-for-1 Van Vet to Intercessor is actually I think or Van Vet. Sorry. A 1-for-1 veteran, Deathwatch veteran versus an Intercessor. For 20 points, we actually are up a chainsword. Our gun is slightly worse base stats, but you get special issue ammunition, so at the worst you can use special issue ammunition to make it just as good as an Intercessor bolt rifle. So at least for the Intercessor versus normal Deathwatch veteran, I think the Deathwatch veteran is better because it has the same number of attacks, but it comes with a chainsword now for free for 20 points.
yeah.
But yes, after that, once we start adding everything else, but it's because of the flexibility, right? Like you can't give
Yeah.
an Intercessor a storm shield. You
Yeah,
can't. But
and
you
on
can
top of
give
that,
5 Deathwatch veterans all storm shields.
like we can't just take 10 Vanguard vets, can we? Like we take them in kill teams. So if you think of it that way, if you just want to max out on your Vanguard vets,
Yeah.
your infantry,
I
veterans,
see.
stock standard veterans start becoming a bit of a tax. So it's
we can bring them in elites. You can just bring a Vanguard squad, but then but
you lose so much, right?
exactly. That's what I was gonna say. But
Yeah.
then you're not playing up the strength of being Deathwatch, which is we have Van Vets and they're also OBSEC. And also I can bring 4, I can bring 4 or 5 or 6. I bet you could probably, well, maybe not 6, but you could bring 4 or 5 squads of them if you really wanted to go all in on Van Vets. And now, I mean, they can't really do that. Like Blood Angels
like
can't bring that many.
It's like the White Scars list that have 30 Vanguard vets. Like that list is inherently going to be have more combat punch than the Deathwatch version of that list with 15 Vanguard vets. So that list will do the job of diving into your opponent's zone better than Deathwatch all the time, right? Because they just have more tools for that job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the strength of Deathwatch is always having a little spanner, ready for that job.
Yeah.
Having it ready. So yeah, I think playing it that way, playing it cagey, playing the attrition war to win, is how you're going to get wins.
Yeah, that's a great point. I always try to go, like, when I started playing in 9th, I was playing against friends who they hadn't played since like 6th or 7th or something. And I don't know if we were just playing with too little terrain or what, but man, turn 1 was like, you have to go first or you lose. Because like we would lose a third of our army turn 1 if we went second. And then like already you're playing with a huge like advantage. And I think that was just we weren't playing with enough terrain. But
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, like now thankfully it's not like that. You can anyway, this is a long-winded way of me explaining that like you can play that cagey, like I'm gonna seed ground for 2 turns, not do anything really, try to minimize my losses. If you do something really dumb, I will like capitalize on it. But then turn 3, you're just like fall with everything you got. And then that actually plays into how we can manipulate the doctrines too. So like if we have a lot of heavy weapons or a lot of assault weapons or whatever, like we can wait and pop exactly the doctrine we need on the exact turn that we need it. So
that's it.
So
we can choose really when to go.
Yeah. So they can we can play the waiting game pretty good. Like I know it's not uncommon to just like if you're playing against Ultramarines, let's say, you just hide turn 1, you waste their like Devastator doctrine, you know, but you can't really do that against Deathwatch. We'll just be like, okay, I'm not an assault army, so my assault doctrine isn't that useful, so I'll just use that turn 1, and
Yep.
I'll just wait. I'll wait for you to start playing the game, and then I will use every advantage I have.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit upset now because the shotguns are good. So I used to
You're
actually
like-
use tactical doctrine as the
the
wasted
first
one.
turn.
I was like, cool, I'm gonna hold assault doctrine for so
Yeah.
long, and I'm gonna hold dev doc when I need it. But now it's like, damn, I actually want tactical doc for the shotgun, so I have to actually think about, which one's gonna be the wasted one.
Yeah. Could you
Usually just assault
imagine?
one anyway. Yeah.
Could you imagine if those shotguns also had special issue ammo? Oh, it's a good thing they
Oh
don't.
man.
It's
Oh
like
man.
let's make them what would that? That'd be 14-inch flamers.
We'd
With
actually
minus
2 damage.
2
If we had
AP
2
and-
damage flamer rounds, we'd actually be Drukhari, right? Like it'd be worse.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about the damage one yet. I was still going down the list, right? Like ignore cover, increase range, and AP. But yeah, 2 damage would be pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's good that we don't have it on the shotties.
yeah. I think there's still some like as we're kind of just musing now, like there's still some tech we could look into with adding whirlwinds, with even adding like thunderfire cannons. I think could have a bit of tech for the tremor shell. Like it's not as good now, but it could still have a little bit of tech.
Man,
And
you were already saying how hard it would be to just squeeze in like 5 infiltrators. And now you're like,
Yeah.
oh, and now we need whirlwinds too. Well, not need, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
so
we've got all these tools ready to go if things play up. The Watch Fortress is full, mate. It's there's a lot of stuff ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm keen to see how it goes. I know last time we recorded, I was even talking about like adding stuff like Guilliman to the Deathwatch list, and there's like a
Yeah,
bit of
that's
secret tech.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think the current build is probably better without him. But yeah, I
Well,
think he could be kind of cool.
let's I know you got to go soon, but let's switch back to the web browser here. Let's just talk this out because it's interesting. And if so obviously he's best with ultramarines.
Yeah,
Because he gives full, yeah, so here we go. You reroll all hit rolls if you're ultramarines, if you're within 6 inches, and you reroll wound rolls of 1, which we would lose our doctrine switching if we brought Guilliman, right? But we wouldn't lose Xenos
so the only
Hunters.
things we'd lose is
Yeah.
our doctrine switching and our secondaries. So in a
Okay.
world where we don't need those two things, he's actually kind of cool. Yeah, because he just punches really hard as well.
Yeah, so really we're just losing this part here with the reroll all hits. But he's got a 3-up invul. He can pop back.
Yeah,
right?
on a 4+.
Yeah.
He also allows us to start with 50 in CP, which is pretty wild.
What?
It's actually
right.
pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, because
his Supreme Command is free. He makes our battalion free, and then he gives you 3 more. So it's like an interesting way to start with, like, after all
Wow.
your warlord traits and relics. It's an interesting way to start with like 11 or 12.
That's really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, so +1 to advance and charge if you're within 12 inches, which is an enormously large radius.
Yep. It's huge.
So yeah, that's a 24-inch bubble because it's 12-inch radius. So that's huge. And then you can reroll any morale, which okay, so we get the old and they shall know no fear back basically.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he has to be your warlord, but who okay.
Literally no one cares.
He's also 400 points, so it's not like you're squeezing in
like
a whole lot of HQs here.
I think it's like 380 now, or 340, or somewhere in the 300s.
He's 380. I've got it up on my my view here.
Yeah, so Yeah, it's interesting because like as you see on the stratagem on your screen, it looks like he can fight on death, which is
Yep.
kind of nice if he hasn't fought because he's an adept studies character. So if he does get alphaed, it's not that bad. 'Cause you just punch on and then you can res yourself back up.
Oh,
So
I guess the other thing we lose by not being Ultra Marines is we lose the everybody can now heroically intervene thing, but that's not
oh,
game,
that's
that's not game
fine.
changing.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So he does a few things like the passive reroll ones is really nice in that big aura, really, really cool. +1 advance and charge is actually kind of cool when you're looking at those Centurion units dropping in at 9 inches and charging in because it gives you a bit better maths on that.
Oh man,
But
wait. So as no, wait, do we lose out on our Deathwatch stratagems too because you couldn't
no,
deep
dude,
strike?
we get them all.
So you
We get them all.
so you could spend 1 CP to deep strike Guilliman?
No, so
That's
he's not
what
a
I'm
Deathwatch
saying.
unit. So you
Oh,
could,
right,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
That's how they gotta, yeah. That's how they get
But
you.
if you're, I believe his +1 to advance and charge also stacks with Blood Angels. So if you Brotherhood of Veterans a unit to go Blood Angels, I believe you get +2. So it's a really sneaky way to get a little bit of bonus charge out of a unit. So like there's play with him with Centurions. There's play with him just with your regular kill teams because it's the way I think of him is what I lose is the doctrine mitigation or the doctrine manipulation and the secondaries. And before Drakari was a big deal, I wasn't really too too keen on Suffer Not the Alien.
No,
The thing is
yeah.
with orcs around the corner and potentially with Nids GSC rising in the
Oh
meta
yeah.
as a counter to Drakari and Sisters,
Orcs are gonna be
we
a
might be
menace,
seeing it
man.
more.
Orcs are gonna
Oh,
be a
I'm
menace.
shitting myself, bro. I'm like I'm not ready for this.
You're like
Oh.
fucking toughness 5 boys,
I'm still
and
recovering from the shock attack gun, mate. Have you ever heard of that? You know what that
yeah,
is? Oh,
is
it's
that the one where you don't even get to like roll to save? It's just it'll wound if it's over. Like it's too
oh
too,
that's the
it's too.
smasher gun.
Oh, okay, my bad. So
Yeah.
what's the
So the shock attack gun is like a D6 shot. It's like strength. You roll 2 dice for the strength. So it could be like anywhere between strength 2 and strength 12.
big mech
Um
with shock
neg
attack gun?
Yeah, it's like -5 AP, D6 damage. But if you roll more than an 11 for every hit, you take D3 mortal wounds. So in Vigilus in 8th edition, there was a relic that had a 2d6 version of this. So you could shoot at 2d6 shots. You can more DACA the guy to hit on 5s. If you rolled like an 11 or 12, you would just do bulk mortal wounds. Like you could just do 25 mortal wounds if you spiked, and then you could
It's
shoot again. Like
it's
for
60
2
inch
CP.
range too, so
Yeah,
you're
in 8th.
you can't hide from it.
Yeah,
I mean, without line of sight, right?
yeah.
Like
So this guy in 8th edition was 84 points.
nice. So what is up with this? What's the Grot Oiler do? Oh, here we go. Once per battle, it can assist in making repairs. All right,
He's just a
whatever.
body, like a random guy that takes a wound. He's a lad.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, like back when this thing was around, it was the biggest menace that orcs had to throw. So I'm not ready for this to come back.
I thought Ludas were like super annoying for a
Yeah,
while there.
looters are pretty hot. They're pretty hot. You can hide from looters. You can't hide from this guy. He just jumps around the table.
Oh, Ludas are even heavy support. All right.
Yeah, you could. There was a time where you could before the FAQ mob up 2 units of looters, like unit of 20 and a unit of 10, I think it was. And then you could have like 30 looters. It's pretty crazy.
What's the It's it can shoot twice, right? Was the Luda thing,
If they're
and then they can
bad
also
moves, yeah,
and then they can also Daka on 5
on
instead
a
of
5s.
6.
Yeah,
I mean
so they could do
that's
that and then double tap.
orcs
Yeah,
anyway, but yeah.
because bad moons gives them reroll ones to hit as well. So you could hit on 5s rerolling ones, double tapping, which is pretty cool.
Each time this unit is chosen to shoot with, roll a d3 to determine the type characteristic. Ugh.
So like, yeah, you roll the D3 and that's how many shots each looter gets. So if you roll a 3, it's like, 60 shots.
No, it says to determine the type. So heavy assault or rapid fire?
No, it's like is that the rocket launcher or is that the
No, it's the def
yeah.
gun.
So it's heavy D3.
Yeah.
So it's like you roll one D3 for the whole unit rather than multiple D3s for every model.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I see now.
Yeah.
I thought it was like it would actually change from heavy to like rapid fire or assault based on a die roll, and I was like, that is awful. You can never
Yeah.
ever rely on that.
That's tragically bad if it was.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
But it would
When
also
orcs
be
come
a
on.
little orky, if I'm honest, right? Just
Yeah,
random weird shit.
But yeah, like when it's interesting because we have some pretty good tools to deal with AdMech and Sisters at the moment, and when orcs come up, it looks like we still have some tools against them. So
Mhm.
it's going to be an interesting time for the old Deathwatch. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really like, yeah, especially like now again with Deathwatch winning a GT. I think Auspex Tactics actually did a whole video, and
Yes.
you could tell the guy was like blown away. Like it's like nobody saw this coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jack Harpster ended the ACO in 11th, which I know isn't
man,
like top 4 or whatever, but like, man, that's
I rate anyone going better than 3 and 2 with this kind of stuff. Like if you're in the 4 and 1, 4 and 2 territory, you're doing well. So
yeah, like, man, I mean, 11th out of 300 players, and
Yep,
some of those are, some of the best out there, and you come in 11th. I would put that on my fucking resume, personally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome, dude. Hey, anyway, I should probably
Yeah.
head to bed, but this has been great, dude.
I was gonna say it is almost 1 o'clock where you're at right now, so
12:40, so I got to wake up in about 6 hours, so it's
Oh,
not too bad.
all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for this. I mean, thanks again for just like leaping in here.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we're gonna talk a lot more. I'll say it again. Dineeth here has his own podcast, The Normal Blokes. I will have a link to it in the description below. And if you're interested in any teams content, they've got a ton of it. So check out their podcast. Super interesting, super knowledgeable guys all the way throughout. So
Thanks, man.
yeah, there's your plug, dude.
Yeah, awesome, man. Hey, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and I really like the content you're doing, and I hope
Thank
it
you.
keeps up at the same quality. It's awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, take care, guys.
Thank you so much, man.